Hello and good
Yep.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Dungeon World. I will be your game master and host today, Kyle. Um, with me are a number of fine folks here. So we're going to go around, do a quick set of introductions, and then introduce the game that we'll be playing. Hopefully, the audio is good and everybody's able to hear. But we're going to start and we'll go clockwise. Why don't we start with Dan the Man?
All right. I am Dan at MadSciDM. I use he, him pronouns. And pretty much if you want to find me, the best place is here or Twitter. One of those two.
Indeed. Val.
Hiya, I'm Val. This is not my normal accent. I'm usually just British, but I started doing this and I'm afraid it'll go away if I stop for even one moment. So I'm Val. I use she, her pronouns. You can find me on Twitter as the Nerdy Liffler.
Excellent. And Sean.
Howdy. My name is Sean, also known as No Tweet Sean on Twitter. He, him. I am here to play some Dungeon World. I'm super excited about this creative game. Love the creative process behind it, and think it just promotes like lots of this creativity in this RPG environment. So I'm super excited to play
Yeah,
games.
I love it. Cole.
Hi, I'm Cole. My pronouns are she, they. If I'm not here, I'm over on Twitter at Cole Moriel. Come say hi.
Hello. So let's talk about the game today. So we are not playing Dungeons and Dragons, but we kind of are. Like Dungeon World itself is a love letter to Dungeons and Dragons using the kind of apocalypse engine, so called, right, powered by the apocalypse, um, which really means it's a fiction first sort of game. Um, Honestly, almost any game that says that it's inspired by the apocalypse could call itself that, but this is kind of in the core and probably outside of Apocalypse World itself, probably the most well known of the many excellent PBTA games out there. We're going to play a slight variant on it today called Homebrew World by Jeremy Strandberg. Yeah, Strandberg. Um, it's almost exactly the same. There's a few changes to some of the playbooks. There are a few minor mechanical changes, but you could think of it as sort of an overlay on top of Dungeon World to simplify it a little bit. Um, and the core out of all of this is anytime we do something, most of the game is just a conversation, right? I'm telling you what the world does. Sean and Cole and Val and Dan will be telling what their characters do. And occasionally we'll get to a point where either where something gets triggered that's called a move, which is the basic unit of rules. And a move is basically when you X some condition, then there's some result. That result could just be that I tell you something happens, or you tell me that something happens. If there is a roll, it's usually you take two six-sided dice. In Homebrew World, sometimes you take three because you can have advantage or disadvantage. You roll those if you have advantage or disadvantage. If you have disadvantage, you remove the highest. If you have advantage, you subtract the lowest. It's even simpler in practice than it is explaining it. If it's a 10 or higher, you do what you set out to do. If it's 7 or 9, it's a success at a cost. Maybe you didn't get all of what you wanted, or you lose a little bit, or something. If it's 6 or less, then I get to make a move. I can also make a move whenever everybody's looking at me to see what happens next, or when you give me a golden opportunity per the rules. But there are principles and rules on the GMs as well. Like we are literally rules bound, for example, to be a fan of the characters. Now, a good GM in any game should be already, right? What this is really about is codifying good practice, right? That doesn't mean I'm going to give you easy success because I'm a fan. I want you to succeed. I want that success to be worth something. And sometimes, as those of you who have played other games with me in the past know, sometimes bad things happen to good characters, and hopefully that won't happen here. But it could. Um, you can also think of it like this: on a 10 or higher, you tell me what the move means within the rules. 7 to 9, we negotiate, and 6 or lower, I tell you. So that is the basic idea here. we before the game we established a sort of common premise, a dungeon starter called Into the Fungal Forest. We will explore that. That gives me a set of questions to ask at the beginning, some impressions to give you, some kind of tools to use of dangers and things that can happen, etc., and discoveries, things, good things that you can find along the way that you can use. Um, and we're going to establish that you are seeking a relic called the Stone of Eth, YTH, and you know that it is related somehow to the choir of Eth. We're going to talk about me asking you questions about what that means in a little bit, but that's the premise: is that you're going into the fungal forest to find this relic. Sound good? So, what everybody should do, I'm giving you all a link to the copy of Homebrew World, and there are playbooks there, starting on uh, page 7. Each of them is 2 pages. So there in regular Dungeon World, there's one fighter class. Here there are 2. They split out. The fighter itself is about somebody who obviously is just really good at fighting. The wielder, which is the last one here, is about someone with an extra special weapon, something really unique that defines their character. So you've got the fighter, the thief, the wizard or magic user, and the cleric as the first 4, because they're kind of the original classic D&D archetypes, right? Then after that, you have the barbarian, the ranger, the bard, the paladin, the druid, which is more about shape-shifting than anything else. So what I'd like for the 4 of you to do is pick a class, different classes for each of you, and work through your choices. Um, some of them you have, all of you have to choose a background at the beginning. You have a look. In this game, quote unquote, race has no mechanical effect. It is purely part of your look, just like whether or not you are tall and skinny or short and stocky or whatever has no mechanical effect. It's exactly like that. The part that has a mechanical effect is your background. So talk amongst yourselves. What classes are you thinking about playing? Maybe Dan has an idea, or Val has an accent, so maybe she has an idea of a playbook that she likes.
Yeah, I was already looking at the ranger because it seems to kind of go with a ranger voice. So it was the ranger or the thief, which is why I look all in black. So I was like, I'll go for a ranger. And also it makes sense because we're in a forest that there might be a ranger to kind of help along the way. And
Right.
also there's a raised by wolves background, which I was like, boom.
So I think we have a. Sounds like you have a ranger in your heart. How about Dan, Cole, or Sean? Do you have playbooks that you want to pick?
Surprising at absolutely no one, I was drawn to the wizard. Although the wielder was also intriguing, and I could go that direction if someone else was also interested in wizard. I could go wielder pretty easily.
Side note, and Dan will have already seen this. In this game, the wizard is, we call it the wizard. It's really encompasses so different kinds of magic users that in other game systems might be separate classes. So one of the backgrounds in the wizard is
packed.
if you wanted to be more of a warlock. There's Fey Touch. If you wanted to be sort of a sorcerer with Fey background, formerly trained, steeped in lore, etc. How about Cole or Sean? Either of you have a class of playbooks rather that you like?
I like the cleric. Specifically looking at the servant of Mitra, kind of talking about.
Oh my God, no, you're not. Oh no.
I cannot if you want to do that.
Why was that
No,
something you wanted to do, Cole?
Yep, that's what I was gonna say.
It's fine. I can take the thief.
Nope, it's okay. I can play. I'll bard. Boom, I did it.
We are like-minded
Always
folk.
good. So go around while you go around yourself. Sorry, not go around. Choose your look, choose your background. Don't ask the other players your questions yet. There's questions that we will ask to establish your relationships between each other. But we'll get to those. Some of you will have 1 or 2 more choices to make from that, but it's pretty straightforward. Oh, be sure on the left-hand side to assign your stats modifiers. You'll have a an array of +2, +1, +1, +0, +0, and -1. Um, your HP is already set. Unlike Core Dungeon World, where it kind of depends on your con here, there's just a set number of HP per class. You will see in your playbook an illustration of a die, like a D8 or a D10 or a D6 or a D4. You need one of those because that's your damage die. Because the idea is damage is based on your class or your playbook, not based on your weapon, not based very much on your weapon. Weapons can modify it a little bit, but the idea is that let's say a fighter wielding a sword knows how to wield it and is better with it than a wizard with the exact same sword. So a fighter does a D10 no matter what weapon they're using, and a wizard does a D4 no matter what weapon they're using. Now, obviously, a wizard does things besides just use weapons. Uh, so they hopefully won't be throwing darts or using a little dagger that often. Or if they use a dagger, it's for some terrible ritual purpose. Um, and as you're filling these out, think a little bit about your character and why they're going to be doing this, because I am going to have questions for you as you fill that out. If you have, in the meantime, questions for me about the game, any choices that you have, what does this mean, how does that work, please feel free to check. Um, because for everybody, again, for folks watching, some of the things that they're picking are they human, dwarf, elf, halfling, or something else, right? And they can there's a blank there for a reason. Um, for example, the fighter could be young and brash, in my prime, grizzled, or something else. Their eyes could be flashing hard or 1,000 yard stare. They can have a giant frame, ripped, stocky, wiry, whatever. And then they have these backgrounds, right? So, for example, for a fighter, backgrounds are gladiator, pledged guardian, noble scion, or veteran of the wars. And when you get those, you get certain moves associated with those and certain kind of background and bond type questions. You'll also want to choose your drive. So again, for a fighter, it's challenge, glory, peace, or pride. This is sort of replacing like alignments, um, because those are not always super useful. And even in core dungeon world, like each character has an alignment, but it doesn't work the way you might traditionally think it does, and so it doesn't. Um, it'll provide some additional guidance on what that means for, let's say, a chaotic versus a neutral wizard in core dungeon world. In this, they just kind of took off that label and changed some things up. The other thing you should know about choosing gear: gear works very differently than D&D, and somewhat differently than core dungeon world. So core dungeon world, you have a thing called adventuring gear, right? Which is sort of, you get so many uses of it. And when you say need a torch or a length of rope or ball bearings or whatever, you just say, oh, I have it right here. You mark off one use of adventuring gear, and boom, there you go. In homebrew world, almost everything, you get an amount of load based on your class that can be modified slightly by your background. And there's a move called have what you need. When you have what you need, when you decide you had it all along, you mark off a certain amount of load to have a particular item. You can do some of that now. So, for example, you could decide right now what weapon you have and mark that off. But you don't have to worry until it's time about what other kinds of equipment you might have. You just decide how much you have, if that makes sense. Because
I
this is a little bit of resource management, but it's not like, I need, let's see, how many torches do we think we're going to need and so forth. The main thing is look, background, drive, and stats.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cole. By the way, I think this is going to be fun.
Uh-oh.
Be really really fun.
Oh no, I'm gonna
make
have
the
fun.
most with this, just
I
because.
think it happened for the best.
The thing is, there's no bad choices here. So I would love to play personally any of these.
Hmm
Um, the things to mention while y'all are finishing up, like Sean and Cole are still working. Dan, you look like you're about done.
Yeah, I just had to grab a pencil.
Sure. For your
Instead of doing
wizard
everything in
and
pen.
for Sean for your cleric, um, be sure to look at how your spell book works.
Yeah.
Start with 5 prepared spells, and then from time to time you can change the spells that you have prepared.
Yes.
They did away with the distinction between how clerics and wizards prepare their spells, which is a little bit lost flavor, but at the same time, more straightforward for people as they're getting used to it. This for other folks watching this particular variant. The reason I like it for this is one of the things it's specifically designed for one shots like this or short arcs of just a handful of sessions. Uh, that's what it's for. So a lot of the mechanics in regular Dungeon World that are really designed for longer campaigns are kind of replaced here with things that are more useful for this type of setup. Because who knows? Maybe you could all die. I mean, what?
What?
I totally didn't do that in a Dungeon World game this weekend.
You did not just say that.
Fine, we're fine.
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Nothing could possibly
Exactly.
go wrong when you're going into the fungal forest. No.
That's right.
Um.
The bog witch is so ready.
So, who is done? It's okay if you're not.
I am almost there.
Cleric's getting there. Thief is almost there. And if you have questions, please do feel free to ask. I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable with what they have to do there.
I think I've got everything filled in. All right. With the total gear, do we go like? Do we just take? Do we have traps and snares, or is that something we mark down as gear?
When you have what you need, you'll mark down. You could decide that you have that now. You can certainly fill in traps and snares, and you have 3 uses of traps and snares. But you've only got a total of 3 diamonds worth of gear. So you basically would, if you have that, you probably don't have supplies, or maybe your, because if you're gonna, you probably have a serious weapon. You might have armor, up to you.
Because you could always mark supplies, and if we happen to need traps and snares, right?
For her, traps and snares are a choice on her gear.
Ah.
But
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
trying
leave
to.
it undefined now. Like you could, if you decide you don't ever need them, then don't. For now, pick the stuff that you know you're going to need, and leave the rest in your undefined.
Just adds 15 daggers onto it.
I mean, you could do that.
Oh no, the power is too much.
It's too tempting.
It's too
Then
tempting.
it becomes
giant
dagger,
flaming
dagger, 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 dagger.
I just become Vax. Dagger, 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 dagger.
Surprisingly.
Alrighty.
Can I just live the dream of becoming Vax? Can I do that in Dungeon World?
I mean,
I'm sure.
I don't know what they're raised by.
Scottish Vax.
Raider.
And then once Cole and Sean have what they have are ready, they can let me know.
I are ready. One question though. I am having trouble finding. Oh nope, no, I'm not. Never mind.
Okay.
I found it.
Don't forget your stats. Oh, XP. While we're working, XP also works differently. At any time while we're going, you'll get XP doing different things. Anytime that you hit 5 XP, you can just mark, and you could spend 5 XP and mark one of the advances on the right-hand part of your sheet. I'd appreciate if you'd let me know just so I can make sure that we try to highlight that ability or whatever. That's all. Well, depending on what it is, some of the abilities you don't want to highlight, like clerics get scales of life and death, which affects the last breath move when somebody might be dying. Um, so we'll try not to highlight that, or will we?
Mm. Kyle, you're so full of mystery.
Terrible thing.
I-
Fate.
I think I'm good.
Okay,
Guess we'll
we'll find out.
find.
Somebody's got a big woofer. Hear it.
That's on my one, and that's coming from outside. Like far away the neighbors. This mic is so sensitive to picking up stuff.
That's all right.
And there he goes again.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Dan, why don't you tell us your character's name, look, and background, but don't ask the questions from your background yet.
Okay. I am Enkirash. I am an elf. My age is impossible to tell. I have distant eyes that constantly stare past you, perhaps through you. I am sickly and frail, but quite tall and somehow strikingly beautiful, all at the same
Much
time.
like the real Dan. What is your background?
Narrator, surprising absolutely no one, I took Pact.
Oh. So you learned magic from a dangerous entity.
Yes.
You start with a token of your patron's favor, something small and magical. When you break it, your patron will manifest and entertain your request. If it is happy with the results, it will replace the token. What does your token look like?
So it's one of these things that it's actually, if you look upon it, it is hard to tell. I keep it tucked in a pocket of my magic robes and rarely have it out, except pull it out when I'm stressed to play with. And
Is it a fidget spinner?
yeah, I suppose if someone really looked at it, it would look almost like a lump of silly putty. It's just this like amorphous sort of substance. But when you look at it closely, it tends to take on and seem to take on a more solidified shape and before like sort of dissolving again.
Okay. And then you can contact spirits with if you use supplies. Interesting. Very good. Do you want to tell us anything about who your patron is? What your patron is?
Yeah, I think I am still somewhat figuring that out myself.
And how do you
But
spell your character's name?
Enkirash, Enkirash. It's just one of the ones that's off.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, yeah, I didn't even think to look. Good call.
Yeah.
And I should have asked earlier. I forgot to ask. What are your character's pronouns?
He, him.
All right.
Yeah. And he doesn't necessarily keep it super secret. But he before he took up this life, he was an academic, and he found something that changed him.
This isn't Nine Fingers, is it?
No, but there's some similarities there.
All right. No, very good. All right, and Kirash. Um, we're gonna after we go around everybody, then and Kirash will have some questions for each of the other characters to establish how you know each other. But next, let's go to Val. Give us your character. First of all, what's your character's name and pronouns?
Just double checking. Can we pick our own name or do we pick up a list?
You can absolutely create your own name. You are not restricted by those. Those are to help you if you can't think of one.
All right, so I went on the Witcher 3 Skellige page to get inspiration for this. So her name is Kelpie Crate. You can just call her Kelpie, like the mythical horse of doom.
All
And
right.
she has her pronouns,
Okay.
and she is surprising no one like Dan. She's a half elf, who is sort of fully fledged, but a little bit cocky. She has fierce eyes that kind of look straight through you. She's very long and lean, which has been very helpful in the wilds. Scruffy and unkempt, like a Scottish Ranger Caleb sort of vibe going on. There's not many showers in the forest, so you work with what you got.
Right.
She was raised by wolves, so that explains a lot about everything that's going on with her. So she's, I think that gave me kith and kin automatically, which means I can understand the call of the wild, which is fabulous. Very druid vibes.
Yeah, you could definitely you can understand. It's like another language for you to speak with animals. Absolutely. And you have an extra ability with natural beasts, which is good to know because that means that I want to make sure to include some extra beasts in our adventure. That's part of why I ask these things up front. Um, okay.
More monsters.
So what kind of you're raised by wolves? Has Kelpie dealt with civilization much at all?
Kelpie goes into civilization a couple of times to get things like supplies and stuff that you can't really find in the forest. Maybe it's like stuff like a blanket or again a shower. Really nice stuff like that. But she's not really a fan of civilization. She prefers most to be. She acts as sort of a guide. I will say she goes to taverns a lot when she can. She'll walk into a tavern, drink everything in the tavern, get into a fight, and leave, and go back to the forest. But she more as sort of acts as a guide for people who are looking for a way through the forest to earn up some extra coins. I also get an animal companion.
Do get an animal companion, and I just messed up everybody's stuff because Zoom did a thing. So tell me about your animal companion.
I get to be Sean for a bit. My animal companion is a wolf because it felt very on brand. He is my brother. His name is Bobo. I came up with that name exactly 2 seconds ago. So this is Bobo the wolf.
I love the name Bobo for your. It is all fantastic and good. Um, and so that's your brother. What kind of lands were you raised by wolves in?
Very much forests, wilds. Very much. If there's a dungeon world where there's like a fey leaning forest, that is probably where I was raised. Just in anything that was weird or creepy, just stick her right in there, and she'll feel right at home and probably just start building a little camp or a house.
Well, that's good because the fungal forest is a very creepy kind of forest, so that works.
Hooray!
All right. Next, Cole. Why don't you tell us? We've got Kirash and Kelpie. And Cole, what kind of a thief are you? What's your character's name and pronouns first?
My character is Azariah Fenbaros. Pronouns are they, them. They are an elf. They look to be on the youngish side, but you can't really tell. They are stylish and flamboyant, and they have smoldering eyes. And Yeah.
Um, you said thief, right?
Bard.
Bard. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna ask some questions. Now I want to ask different questions. Um. Okay. What's their voice like?
Sonorous.
Sonorous. And what background did you choose?
The wandering folk.
The wandering folk. So what are your people known for?
They are known for their curses and hexes, their haunting music, and thieving ways.
Ooh.
Surprising no one.
Trixie.
Wandering folk. Okay. Well, that's good. What are your folk called? What name do they go by?
That is not a question I was expecting. Oh no.
Okay, think about it a little bit. No particular rush. No worries at all.
Talavim.
The Talavin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's see. And so they have wandered all over. This is good. This is super useful. Um, Sean, tell us about your cleric.
I'm going to be playing Hamish Bumblebeard. He is
Hamish Bumblebeard.
he is a dwarf.
I knew it as soon as I heard that name.
Yeah. So he is an adult dwarf with kind eyes. He has very dark skin and jet black beard. For a dwarf, he's very thin. He almost looks sickly, and he wears very modest clothes underneath his vestments of mitra.
All right. Um, Mitra. So he is a cleric who serves a god of the downtrodden. Um, you have some abilities around helping your fellows, which is super great here. Um, okay. Um, so before we get to your background questions, I have some questions for you.
Oh boy.
So, and some of that's based on, and I'm going to address some of these to individuals and some of these to the group. But I'm actually going to start with a question for Hamish.
Okay.
Hamish, what experience do you have with the religious group known as the Choir of Eth?
Uh, Hamish directly opposes the Choir of Eth. The Choir of Eth is a known enemy of, or anathema to his goddess.
Oh, so what about them makes them anathema to the servants of Mitra?
They are centered around pulling people in with their song and kind of warping their minds to serve evil purposes. I'm going to
Okay.
give everyone else an opportunity to build on that.
Yeah, does anybody else have any particular experiences with the Choir of Eth? If you don't, that's okay. I have more questions.
I think the Talavim. Hang on, my brain was going in a direction. I think for some reason the Talavim get their bad name from the Choir of Eth,
Oh,
and they want to distance themselves from that group.
Like a false
maybe they had
association.
some history. Maybe some of the choir, or maybe came from those folk, or some people think that they are anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Enkaresh, why are you searching for the Stone of Eth, the choir's most venerated relic?
Because my patron, Ardata, the Queen of Spiders, has whispered to me that the choir is going to break the world using the stone.
Oh, choir will break the world using the stone. I can use this. Um, it is so the rest of you. Why are you coming? So we kind of have an idea maybe why Cole and or sorry, why Azariah and Hamish have some interest in the choir and Inkaresh in the stone. Um, um, question for Kelpie. Kelpie, are you more interested in the choir or the stone? What's bringing you along in that sense?
I think Kelpie would be more interested in the stone and what it might be doing because it might be having a sort of negative effect on the wildlife around it, starting to make things look a bit sickly and decayed. So she wants that stone out pronto. Don't care where it's going, just get it out of this forest.
Like a kidney stone.
Yeah, get that kidney stone out.
Yeah, exactly. Just pass it. All right. So I would like we're going to go
Just
around.
eat it right out of the nearest exit.
Each of you, I would like each of you. I'm going to go around in order. Can ask one question from your background. See who answers me, and you can kind of. I may ask some follow-up questions. You can ask each other some follow-up questions. We'll kind of work out and kind of tie this somehow to our starting premise, our starting situation. So why don't we start with Sean, or sorry, with Hamish? Hamish, if you could ask one of the your background questions.
Okay. Which of you is a better soul than you let on?
That's such a deep question.
These are the kinds of questions we're going to get to.
Yeah, no, this is good, but I don't think I've thought that far ahead.
You're sort
I
of
don't think Inkaresh is a good person.
you thought sort of like when as soon as you said Bumblebeard, I was like, well, I can't. I gotta protect him. It's Bumblebeard, so I would say probably I'm nicer than I pretend to be, and I care about you more than I pretend to.
Okay.
It's like I'm like, I don't care if you die, but just like shooting arrows furiously behind you.
Yeah, because does it make sense maybe that Kelpie, being raised by wolves, probably didn't have a lot of religious background, and maybe Hamish something in her? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Sort of like, yeah, she's sort of been raised in the very like blunt, you say what you mean sort of thing, and he's like I've got the sense that Bumblebeard might be a nice chap. That he might not be but also I've been burned before in Kyle's games.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm suspicious of everyone.
I've never hurt any characters in any of my games. They hurt themselves. Um, all right. Well, let's go around. Kelpie, why don't you ask the group one of your background questions?
All right. Which one of you looks more like prey?
Oh, totally me.
I was gonna say the sickly one.
I'm sort of looking around for like the weakest one. So if like we're going into battle, you can like sort of click which one might go down first.
So, Kelpie, are you? So you're thinking to protect the one that looks like prey, or are you also kind of occasionally tempted to hunt the one that looks like prey?
Sort of attempted to steal something from him as well. He's got a lot of shinies on him. I might try and swipe some of them. I'm looking for the one that might look not just like physically the weakest, but might be the most prone to sort of, if we're going into a dangerous territory, might be a little bit prone to like nightmares. Sort of, if anyone tries to mentally smash into us, which one might go down first?
Okay, all right. Inkaresh, next you.
Yes. Which of your dark fates have I foreseen?
How do I even answer that? Jeez.
All of us, because we're probably going to die.
We're going to die.
For shits and giggles, maybe you've seen mine.
You kind of your bard has a little bit of a mystical, creepy aura about them. I think that makes.
I think so too. It feels right.
I mean,
Every time I look at the character, I'm
you
just like,
talked
how am I
about
gonna hurt
having
you? I'm so sorry.
curses and hexes. So yeah, no, that's good.
Excellent.
And so in Koresh, have you seen any specifics of um, Azariah's uh, dark fate?
Well, given the nature of the quest, it has to involve fungus.
Oh no. Oh, that's not good.
We'll find the mycelium.
I'm
So
suddenly
Azariah,
afraid.
how about you? Why don't you ask one of the questions from your background, and we'll have at least one full round.
Which of you believes the tales that they tell of us?
Oh.
My character in my head immediately just went, "Who?" So I don't think me.
I'm gonna say Hamish, because Hamish he's very religious. That makes sense for him to believe things like that. Yeah, he's gonna be all about that prophecy.
So Hamish has kind of bought into some of the stereotypes. Um, Hamish, is that a good thing or a bad thing or somewhere in between?
We might have to find out.
Totally
Let's
Like
fair.
to find out.
Absolutely.
find out.
Absolutely. Okay. Going back around now from here on, you can say that you're done. We're going to go around till everybody is kind of done. You can basically you can ask another question or you can pass. Absolutely. So going around next, Hamish.
Um, do, 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 do. Which one of you wants to know more of Mitra? The goddess of suffering and endurance. Nobody got it. Okay.
I think no,
Well,
I think
you've got to be more curious.
Azariah would be a little curious, tentatively curious. Yeah.
My character again in my head went, "Who?" She's not very knowledgeable.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of which, Kelpie, do you want to ask another question or are you going to pass?
I'll ask another question. It's going to be the opposite one. Which of you is the pack alpha?
Oh, sure as fuck, not me.
I love the three shaking heads. Like, no.
Does that
I
mean
think
Kelpie?
You.
Oh my god, you're expecting me to leave you? We're gonna die. We're a band of doomed adventurers. They'll just lead us straight into her mantra is I've got like the kith or kin where I can challenge a beast. I'm just gonna walk up and go fight me.
You're from
Raisin bitches and timid twinks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that the party name?
Yes, please.
What was it?
Intimatwinks. I'm dead. I'm done. I'm out. Cole has killed me.
That's not what I'm writing down.
I'm writing down Intimatwinks in my journal just to remember it.
All I know is that apparently Kelpie is the pack alpha.
Oh bugger.
But I think that kind of makes sense, right? That if she's used to running with wolves and she comes upon and she's dealing with all these kind of soft humanoid types, um, yeah, I think that makes sense. How about Incorrect? You got any more? You want to ask another question? Or pass.
Yeah, which of you knows the secret of my power?
Who's it gonna be?
I might know. I watch y'all like a hawk, so I
You
might
do.
know.
You think I'm prey? I mean, you observe me.
I think I'm prey, so I've been observing you a whole awful lot. So it might be I might have an inkling as to what your power is. Like,
Okay.
just see me like when you wake up with like a wee binoculars just right in your face.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did you sleep well? Any weird stuff happen?
Any weird dreams?
Always.
I wonder if maybe Azariah has some kind of connection there as well, um, because you can imagine that people with connection to curses and hexes and things like that might have some thoughts about some of that. So maybe Kelpie, do you have any connection to or thoughts of not thoughts, any knowledge? I mean, that's what I'm trying to say of the source of Inkaresh's power.
I might have come across it because she's sort of a far traveler, so she's wandered a lot from place to place. So I imagine she'd like walk into taverns. Uh, well, she's always one for listening and like picking up information. So she might have overheard some people talking about it, probably stolen something from them as well. She's really not that great with shiny things. She's like, oh, they've got stuff that'll be mine now. I don't know why she's also a thief. But
Because you, that's why.
because it's me, and according to Matthew Foreman, I have big rogue energy. So yay!
Big
Rogue
I really want that on a
Alright.
T-shirt. I've got to get it one day.
And now, Azariah, you have another question, or do you pass?
I do. Which of you has long traveled with me?
I think maybe me. So we're both elves from different people, but
Like, hey.
Oh, that's true. Both elves, yeah. You have two elves, a half elf, and a dwarf. Indeed. All right. Back around. Hamish, any more questions, or you're done?
I do not have any more questions.
All right. Kelpie, any more questions?
I only have one more question. It's a pretty easy one. Which of you smells the nicest?
Me.
Yeah.
All right then.
The bard. Yeah. It's good.
Oh, it's definitely me.
Yeah.
Very good. That makes sense. The bard, yeah.
Very alluring. Of course, not right now, but in real life.
You know,
Not
it's time. Incorrect. How about you?
no, I think I am done.
All right. And Azariah, any more questions?
No.
Kelpie, any more? You done?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Let's see. Then we'll go back to my questions. I already asked you what experience with the choir, why you're searching for it. Inkaresh, what powers is the stone said to possess?
It is said to possess the power to harvest souls.
We are a dark and broody bunch, huh?
Oh yeah.
And have you met Dan? Or Val, for that matter?
Yeah, you said like power to harvest souls, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, no, that's what my brain did too. I was like, why am I like this?
Does Kelpie have any other thoughts about what powers the stone is said to possess?
I think the harvest souls thing would be, but also like harvesting the souls of the forest around it. Maybe a thing. So maybe it's like harvest souls of the living. It might harvest souls of things like nature and stuff like that, and start it like draw in energy and power from it.
Could I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Maybe perhaps it's drawing on the ley lines, which is why it's affecting the forest so much.
Yummy, yummy fey magic.
Yes.
This
I
entire game is just going to be me going, yes, yes, more of this.
dig it.
See, what's going to happen is that we're going to end up liking this, and then after we're done, we're going to be sitting like, oh no.
That's how I feel
All right.
after literally every one shot of Dungeon World. Like every one, I'm like, this could be a campaign now. Because it's designed, right, to get you to buy in fully, and everybody has an investment in the world. Um, uh,
You can-
well, with that in mind, Hamish,
Hmm.
Hamish, what answers do you believe to be inscribed upon its surface?
what answers upon the surface of the stone?
What answers are inscribed upon the surface of the Stone of Eth?
I think Hamish would be led to believe that the answers to like the deepest desires of certain like peoples are written upon it, whether it be power or fame or wealth, things like that.
How about Azariah? You have any thoughts about what answers might be on its surface?
I think it's been rumored that the stone grants you one wish. It's only a rumor.
Okay. Kelpie or Inkaresh, how did you learn of its secret location?
I think that my patron told me in my dreams.
Ooh.
I have a really, I got a really serious, like, how I may have found it. And the only other suggestion that was funny that popped in my head, his patron told him in his dreams, he said it out loud in his sleep, and because I was there with the binoculars, I knew.
That's genius.
I dig it.
I was like, oh yeah, I went exploring around the forest and we found all these temples and stuff. And then you said in your dreams, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it go full circle.
I like it.
Right. No, I dig it. I dig it.
Just having a nightmare thrashing around, and I'm just like, oh, the stone's in the fungal forest.
Just
how,
like jotting it down.
how specific of a location? Is it just you had a vision of the place, or you just know it's in the forest, or how specific uh, did that dream get?
I saw a like a palace in the fungal forest, the palace of the fungal king. No, fungal queen. Screw the king.
Fungal Queen. Oh, that's great. Oh, I have a thing.
We've got Kyle's DM senses tingling.
Well, because there's bits and pieces that I know that I want to use somehow, and this is helping me see how I can fit them in ways that make sense in the story. Like, okay, I can fit this. This is going to work here. Um, and other pieces like, oh, maybe this doesn't work as much, but that's okay. Um, anything else from anybody about either the choir or the stone before we get going?
Do we want to come up with any lore about the choir, like how to possibly combat them?
So I can give you a little bit of lore to get started. Um, Perhaps either Hamish or pretty much anybody except Kelpie, honestly, might have read or heard this lore from Hazara of the Many Tongues about the demon god called Eth. A shapeless entity of 10 score eyes and powdered flesh, coterminous with all time and space, yet locked in some Reuben vastness beyond our world. From thence do Eth's followers seek to call it, by singing open the lock and calling the red dust of that place to flood into this one, suffocating all.
Fuck yeah, it's metal.
Again, have y'all met me before? We met
That's
Ted.
right.
It's all,
I'm glad that this is a bunch of goths. We're ready.
I think Val and Emma, who's watching, and a few other folks, we've talked about the different kinds of goth that many of us are at heart. There's all sorts. Whereas I say, I don't just look like an aging, grumpy metalhead. I was, in fact, there's a place where y'all will see coming up here where I got inspired while listening to Slayer doing GM prep last night. All right, so I think that you've gotten to the edges of the forest, right? You know that it's somewhere in there, and you have, yes, we are a spectrum of goth. There we go. Um, so you've reached the edges of this forest. There are tall toadstools as sort of the major fauna, or major flora rather, of the forest. Um, and then, of course, there are smaller fungi all over the forest floor. You see sort of a trail leading off into the forest. You also see a small creek, maybe not quite large enough to be a river, meandering off in a different direction in the forest. And I will turn to you now and ask you, what do you do?
So, location-wise, how far away do we think we are from the Palace of the Fungal Queen?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I'm not sure how much you know about it, but if you think that you might have some knowledge about it, you could roll spout lore, which means roll 2d6 and add your intelligence modifier.
That's not a good idea for me to do. I put my -1 in intelligence.
But but that's what makes it fun. No. If you're wondering about it, this is when you're trying to see if you know.
To be fair,
What?
it's on brand because I just heard him say it in his sleep, and I have no other information other than this. Let's do it. So, what do I have to roll again? Is it 2d6?
Yeah.
Almost every time it's 2d6, and then add, in this case, your intelligence modifier.
Oh, all right. That would be a 5.
Okay. So what you do is on your character sheet, you mark XP, which is good because when you get to 5, you can pick an advance. Or at any time, now that you have XP, you could spend 1 XP to add +1 to a roll after you see the roll. But then, of course, you wouldn't have it towards your advance. But something's really important, and you get like a 6. You're like, oh, I really need that to not be a 6. You could spend an XP later on now that you have it. So I think that you have a sense that it is at least a day away. But while you are, talking with your compatriots here, your comrades about your, plans to journey into the forest, you see some movement up ahead. You see someone kind of along that path that I mentioned, kind of walking down. They turn, they see you out in sort of the clearing at the edge of the forest, and they duck behind a toadstool and they are lost from view. What do you do?
We should follow it.
Live here.
Or
Right,
we
what
could
he
leave-
said.
Or we could just leave it alone and
Or-
wait until.
Go on, son.
Why do we have to chase everything? Couldn't we just let it be?
It is
Yes,
a
we-
You guys are always looking for trouble.
It may know where the temple palace is.
And more importantly, it might have stuff. So, onwards, my friends.
Oh, yes. Down the road of suffering we go.
But I'm gonna do it.
Very
I'll
well.
do it.
What was that you said, Hamish?
Ah, yes. Down the road of suffering we go.
So,
There it is.
so Kelpie, are you attempting to hunt and track that that creature? Is that your goal? See if I
Yes.
do?
Could I use follow me, which is like I guide the party as they venture forth?
Yes. So when you venture forth is when you travel through dangerous or unknown lands, and you indicate your route and your destination, which could just be like a safe place to camp or whatever. Um, so my question to you is, are you attempting to follow that creature or just?
Oh
hunt?
no. I just read hunt and track. Let's do that instead.
Okay. I think that you've seen that creature so quickly that you don't really need to do the discern realities. You can just follow their trail. So why don't you roll plus wisdom?
All right, dice, don't betray me. Oh, sweet. That is a 9.
A 9. Okay. So um, you find very quickly signs of their passing, and it's very clear because they've just been stomping through the fungal undergrowth here through this forest. Not taking any care to hide it. Um, and they are somewhat ahead of you. You can just somewhere far ahead of you hear them kind of crashing through the forest like they're running. Um, and you get to a point where you reach where their trail, because you're now off of that beaten path, right? They didn't stay on that trail, and you find where their trail leads right into that creek, and then from there you're not sure because obviously there's no footprints or whatever in the water. What do the rest of you who followed her? What are you doing?
Oh, you're muted.
I think you're muted.
I would like to discern realities if I can, just to kind of.
So tell me about what you're doing. Tell me. Let's start with the fiction. Tell me. Are you just kind of looking around trying to find them as well? Are you just trying to make a sense of what's in the forest?
So
me
what Hamish is trying to do is determine if this situation is a good thing or a bad thing. Are we being led into a trap, or is this like are we just hunting down someone who's just being so reckless that they're leaving this trail behind? We're just
Okay. So you're trying to look for maybe some signs that the person has left some sort of traps. Is that what you're doing?
right, yeah, like maybe looking for like are there buddies of theirs, up high? Or,
Okay. All
other
right.
signs of
Very
trap.
good. Yeah. Yeah. So roll plus wisdom.
Okay. All right, that's an 11.
Oh, you can ask 3 questions from the list under discern realities, and then you'll take advantage on your next move to act on the answers.
Okay. Who or what is really in control here?
Well, certainly not all of you. I think that it's clear to you. You have entered an area that we've determined before is somewhat sickened. Some of you believe perhaps by the presence of the stone. So I'm going to say that you could already start to see signs where some of the fungi are a little bit extra decayed or withered in some way. Or so I think we're going to say that the stone of Eve is in control here.
Okay, got it. Um, What should I be on the lookout for?
Ooh, I love that question so much. Um,
I don't know if I like that you like that question so much.
I well, no, I love the question in general because it lets me kind of show to you some of the things that are in the area without just springing it on you and hurting you all, which is also a thing that I can do sometimes. In this case, you're looking in the water here that or you're up you're not necessarily in the water yourself, but you've reached that creek, and you can see a few places where the water is primarily, it's a creek. It's a little kind of brownish green, not unnaturally so for the most part. Just um, it's not clear either because it picks up some of the mud and silt. But there's a few places where you see kind of pinkish red eddies
Mm.
in the water, like something is filtering into the water in certain places that's pinkish red. And that certainly grabs your attention because it is unlike any of the other colors in the water.
Weird. Okay. Um, what happened here recently?
What happened here? That's good here. So you can see um, as you're kind of walking up and down the banks of this creek, as you're trying to help maybe Kelpie find the person that or the creature that came through here. Um, you could as you walk a little ways down the creek, down river as it were, and you can see again where the tracks pick up, and they've kind of they've knocked down a few of the smaller mushrooms and so forth behind him, trying to throw you off. But you're able to find it after just kind of looking around for a few minutes.
Okay.
And then when you have advantage in Homebrew World, that means that with the next time you make a roll, your next move, if it acts on these answers, you can roll 3d6 and just look at the two highest.
Ooh, fantastic. Okay, cool. That's what I do.
All right. So what do you do?
So I want to ask one of the spirits about the path to the fungal palace.
So let's see. Your consult,
Yeah, so I'm going to cast contact spirits.
right? And in your case, you can expend if you when you make camp, you can expend supplies to contact spirit. So in this case, you still need to cast a spell. So if
That's
that's one
right.
of the spells that you've prepared, then roll
Yep.
plus int.
9.
9.
Yep.
You cast it, but pick one. For the rest of you wondering, he can choose that reality twists around him, and he tells meow, and then he takes a -1 penalty to cast a spell, or he loses the spell from his prepared list after it's cast, or he can draw unwanted attention to put himself in a spot.
Yeah, I'm going to choose draw unwanted attention.
Okay, so I'll hold on to that for a minute. This spirit that you contact, what does it look like? What spirit are you trying to pull forth?
So it is the spirit of one of the denizens of the forest when it was still the fungal kingdom.
Spirit of one of the. Okay, all right. So you see floating before you a ghostly apparition of some sort of hunter, right? They've got a bow strapped to their back. Maybe they have traveling clothes or even a little bit of leather armor, and they kind of have their arms extended almost behind them, and their ankles crossed, and their head back, and they're just kind of floating there like this. And that spirit is bound to truthfully answer any one question that you pose. Of course, it would have to be a question that they would know the answer to, obviously. But yes.
Yeah. Where is the path to the fungal palace?
Follow the river. As that spirit dissipates, however, um, as you look down, as you were preparing to cast this, what you weren't paying a whole lot of attention to the fungi around you, and you realize that your feet have been there's all kinds of different unusual fungi both in our world and in this homebrew world, and there are fungi that have ladies skirts, what they call them, right? Like lady mushrooms, where it's almost like a net, and this net has got your feet completely entangled in it, and you can see that it's starting to spark a little bit, like white blue, almost electrified sparks. It hasn't hit you yet, but you can see it building up a charge in this fungal net that's entangled your feet. What do you do?
Ouch, damned mushrooms. I start whacking it with my staff.
All
Like trying
right.
to break it off where it's like engaging my feet.
I don't know if this will work,
Okay.
but it seems to be sentient. So this is happening to all of us, right?
You can certainly see that his feet are caught in this fungal netting that's starting to have a little bit of electrical charge to it. You can certainly see that. Yes.
Oh wait, nope. I just. I'm gonna tell everyone. Those earplugs I gave you, put those in, and I'm gonna just do a little do 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 do, and I use lullaby to try and put the mushrooms to sleep.
Okay. So first, I got two questions. First of all, the earplugs. Were you doing to have what you need, marking some supplies or something?
Uh, oh, sorry. What was the question?
So you said you gave them all earplugs.
hmm
So were you doing a thing where you had previously given them something? Is that like a small item that you were maybe carrying before?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I can
because a
see.
lot of these say that all those who hear it.
Okay.
So I
So
would have counted that with earplugs.
okay. So why don't you mark a diamond on your supplies, and that's probably one use of supplies to produce small items.
Okay.
All right. And for that, you don't have to roll anything. You just one use of supplies instead of undefined gear, so you have supplies. Um, and now the bard in this game has um, a move called Arcane Workings. In this case, you don't know. You don't even have to do that. You don't even have to do the earplugs because it says when you perform a working, name anyone you wish to exempt from the effect and roll plus charisma. So I'm going to assume you are not trying to lullaby your friends here,
My party to sleep. You are correct.
Oh, right.
unless you want to, But so roll.
No, no.
Okay, yeah. So you've got lullaby, sing or whisper soothing words. Those who hear you grow drowsy, then sleep. So roll plus charisma.
Okay, so that's 2d6 plus charisma.
Uh huh.
7.
7. It works. So then the GM picks one. Okay. Um, it works. You see that charge start to dissipate for just a moment. Um, but you can see on the so this netting is sort of large, right? There's like a small cluster of these sort of fungi, these mushrooms, and the charge dissipates. You could see after just a moment, you can see it starting to build up out the outskirts of it, but it's a little bit further away from Enkaresh now. So maybe Enkaresh has a moment to free himself if he wishes. Enkaresh, what do you do?
So yeah, so it started to do that, and I just push myself back up because I imagine I was like kneeling when I summoned this spirit.
Okay.
And so as my feet get free, I'm just pushing myself up and uh, glaring at the fungus. Very
All right.
mad.
And you're pushing this, so you're probably are you trying to kind of get out of that spot, or are you just gonna?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So why don't because this electric charge is trying to build back up again, and danger is looming, and you're acting anyway. Why don't you defy danger with Dex?
Okay.
Because you are
Flat roll, and I rolled a 6.
flat roll and rolls a 6.
So mark XP.
Okay. So yes, mark XP, absolutely. And yeah, so as you are doing that, you're taking a moment and there's just so much netting. There's just so much of it. And it's kind of hard, honestly, to get free. And you pull yourself free just as the charge hits you, and you take 4 points of damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, that charge, it all starts kind of dissipates and settles down, and now your foot is free. What do you do?
Well, I sort of, my reaction is that sort of cat type thing where like I jump back, startled and clearly hurt because I just got whacked by electricity. But no, the cat type thing where when a cat does something stupid and like has a startled reaction and then really tries to pretend like that did not just happen. Like looks around like as like you did not see that. Because that was undignified.
I hate to inform you that I saw that.
Yeah. But there's like 3 people just staring you dead in the eye, like.
Yeah.
We saw it. We saved it in our brains. Don't worry about it.
And Crash, do try to stay out of trouble.
And so the netting's all still around, right? And the charge is dissipating down.
Yes, but you pulled yourself free now.
Okay, all right, yeah. And so I'm just like, well, the spirit said to follow the river, so I suppose this creek probably flows to the river.
That is usually how creeks work. Yes.
Yes.
My friend. I'm
Let
a
me
ranger,
wizard explain. Let
I
me
know.
wizard explain to you how nature works, my ranger friend.
Yeah. Also, I was saying that because I am not sure myself, so I was like, creeks probably lead to rivers.
That sounds correct.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Can I spout lore on the pink stuff in the river? See if I know anything.
You can, and then and be prepared because I'm going to ask you how you know.
Okay.
So yes, so spout lore. When you consult your community knowledge about something, roll plus int.
All right. Plus int. So good at that. Not. But I roll with advantage, right?
Yes, because of your earlier.
Okay. That helps. That's a 13.
Ooh, 13. So I have to give you something interesting, useful, and relevant about the subject.
I'm not getting any experience.
At the same time, you also didn't get zapped by electrified mushrooms. While you are not an expert on nature, you do know something, and I'm going to ask you about how you know it after we're done here. But you have heard of fungi that secrete a reddish fluid. It's basically blood, and that this blood that is secreted by this fungus is caustic and poisonous, and this looks like what would happen if sort of that bloody fungus were somehow leaching into the water.
Ooh. Okay. Well,
How
then.
do you know about this?
So, Hamish's goddess is all about suffering, right? And so he is aware, especially of poisonous things that cause long suffering or pain. He is taught this in his schooling, specifically how to like cure people of it.
I see. I see. What do you tell the others about? I'm going to assume that you're kind of telling them about when you spout lore. Unless y'all tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume you're literally doing what I told you. In the name, right?
Do be careful of the water. I believe there's poisonous mushrooms in it.
So, what do? You have you have your creek, you have guidance, you found some dangers. Of course, you also have the trail of somebody who was watching you earlier. What do you all do?
Can I use Bobo to try and track where the tracks ran off to?
Can you use what?
Using Bobo the wolf to
Oh, the wolf.
track by scent.
Okay.
Good old Bobo.
So you absolutely can. That's going to be plus clever.
Oh, okay. That is another 9.
A 9 on discern realities. Um, and of course that's discern realities based on. So they're sniffing around. You can ask one of the questions from discern realities.
Well, there's a certain realities thing.
Under basic moves, up like on page 3, I think.
Excellent. Up on
Yeah.
page 3, discern reality. Very prepared. We know this. I know what I'm doing.
It's fine.
All right. I might. Can I ask what here is not what it appears to be?
Yes, you can ask that. Yeah, I think as Bobo, you said
Yes.
Bobo is sniffing around and finds that there are a number of places here where there are a number of places of signs of people having walked through this part of the forest, but the scent is fresh and matches the scent that you're looking for, and only one of them. And Bobo finds the trail for that creature. Um, but clearly there are signs that there's more foot traffic in this area over. It's hard to say how long ago it was, right? Was it 5 minutes ago? Was it yesterday? There's more foot traffic in this area, but the fresh trail by scent is able to identify. Um, what do you all do?
I'll turn around and tell everybody that. I'll be like, me brother's just sniffed out that the trail's gone that way, but there's a lot more trails come around here, so I'm thinking we might be walking into a trap. Kind of seems like possible trap, illusion, magics, possibly. The trail has a scent to it, but also there's a lot of other foot traffic here, which tends to suggest that a lot of other people have been here and had them probably that fun staticky mushroom, blood mushroom stuff you was talking about.
Perhaps we should go
I
back
think
to
we
the
should
road.
I think we should follow the creek downstream to the river.
I was going to say that I think I'm inclined to take Kelty's word on this.
A poor choice.
I don't know
I
anything
trust
about.
Sophie with my life.
I don't know anything about the forest. You live here.
That I do. And speaking of that, can I possibly lay a trap? Just so in case anyone tries to follow us, that they might encounter a little bit of resistance.
Yes, you absolutely can. Um, so you could mark off one use of your traps and snares,
All right.
and um, tell me about the trap that you are setting.
All right. So this is a trap we used from my childhood. It's harder for the wolves to build it because they lack opposable thumbs, but they still dug into the ground. So what we're gonna do is gonna use, you see, Kelpie use her actual hands and Bobo as well to start digging a hole. Because the concept of spades, mister.
So
Dare
you're
I
digging a
ask?
pit trap, is that right?
Yes.
Now that you can actually do that. It's going to take some time.
I realized that. I said it and then I was like, I regret my choices. But I've
Okay.
already committed to it.
So you're taking some time to do that. While Kelpie is doing that, um, I think one of you, you tell me who, sees some spores floating in the air. Which of the other three of you see the spores?
I have to think that it's not me because I'm so confused as to why Kelty is digging a hole with her bare hand. And it's such a train wreck that I can't look away. It's not me.
Maybe the one that looks like he's looking off in the distance all the time.
Okay. So as you see these spores floating towards you, kind of on the breeze, not like they're making a beeline for you or anything like that, but they're, which is a funny word because bees fly like this. So how do you, anyway, they're floating on the breeze in your general direction. Uh, Hamish, what do you do?
Oh, guys, guys, there's stuff coming.
Spores.
What's what you're
Fungal
easy to see
forest.
what somebody
Who would have
puts up.
guessed?
I guess he's gonna take he's gonna take like a piece of his clothing, kind of rip it off like from underneath his armor, and he's gonna start like ripping it into cloths and like putting it on people's faces. Here, take this.
Oh,
What
that's,
are you? What is that about? What is this?
that's very clever. Can you define danger with int, please, as you're enacting your clever plan? As these spores are floating towards you on the breeze.
Ooh, that's 5.
All right, so mark your XP.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that, yeah, I think that you're doing that, but Kelpie is so busy digging that she's the last one that you get to. And she inhales some of these reddish, moldy spores. She's busy digging. Kelpie, could you roll plus con for me, please?
Right. That is an 8.
That is an 8. Um, well, that's good. That's a mixed success. So you start sneezing. And then after a minute, you can choose one from this list of 3. You can choose one. You could choose you don't throw up your last meal. You don't begin to excrete foul smelling sweat. Or fungus does not start to grow in all your damp places.
Oh no.
So which of those do you choose?
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I'm definitely going to throw up my last meal. Don't worry about that one. I'm wondering whether I have foul smelling. I already smell bad. I live in the forest. All right, let's go for not growing mushrooms
Okay,
in my
that's
damp
good.
places.
The sneezing intensifies, and yeah, Kelpie just retches right into that pit that she was digging.
Oh,
And as
But
noted, she already smells bad. The odor here in this forest is not that great in the first place, so maybe you don't notice it right away. Um, it's getting dark while she's digging. I guess now the pit is done and it's got silt at the bottom of it. And yeah, Kelpie is really starting to smell very bad. Um, the rest of you are walking around, you know, covered. It's getting dark. Maybe this is the time that you want to make camp here.
maybe make it a little ways away from, just like about a couple centimeters away from the trap, because the trap might lure whoever is trying to lead us here, but also I don't want one of you to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and fall into my trap pile.
All right. So, are you
Oh my god.
going to go ahead and venture forth away from here then before you make camp? Trying to find a place to camp?
Yeah, because I can do follow me and try and lead us to a decent place.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. First of all, you can choose two. Either it takes longer than expected, something follows you to your destination, or it's a slog and a few of you might either have a problem or have to discard an item. You can choose two of those. Takes too long, something follows you, or you're going to have a difficulty or lose an item.
We already kind of got someone following us. That's just on brand at this point.
Who's following who?
Na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
If anyone asks, we're following them. We're in control here. Not that crystal stone. We've got this. Professionals.
I question your definition of professional, but we'll go with it.
Everyone's still like got their like stuff over their heads. Like, I question the definition of professional, but we'll go with it.
So which of those two do you choose? The takes too long, something follows
is it-
you, or the slog?
Oh, is it just me choosing?
No, I'm asking you as a group.
Oh, that's why I was like, don't choose that.
Oh,
They'll choose
Oh.
which of those two. So, or you ultimately you could say which of those does not happen. You could say which one of
Let's-
those does not happen.
how about takes too long and something follows us?
Yeah.
All
Seems
right.
on
Mhm.
brand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's
So I would like now, after making those choices, Kelpie leading the way, if Kelpie could roll plus whiz though.
Oh, neat. That's number 8.
An 8.
And apparently, yeah, it gets treated as a +10. Hurrah!
Oh, because you are a ranger. When you guide the party as they venture forth to the 7 to 9 is a 10 plus. Oh, that's so good. So you've reached your destination. You found a safe place to camp some distance away. What was the most interesting thing on your journey?
Oh, wait, is this all of us or just me?
Oh, just you.
The most interesting thing on the journey, apart from Kelpie's pungent odor that's been growing ever since we've been walking, would probably be the lack of as the farther we go in, the trees start to look a lot weirder. As in, they start to look like they're glowing, like there's different vines going up inside them, like wrapping around them with this kind of pulsating energy. And you just see one of them has been split open by like a lightning strike or something, and there's just kind of again those spores sort of coming out of it. But I lead us with a wide berth on that one.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break, about 5 minutes, grab a glass of water, do whatever else you need to do. And then when we come back, we will do the make camp move and then start the next day. All right.
Sweet.
And here we go. Hey, we are having fun in the fungal forest. Um, we have ventured forth. We have tried to track down some sort of humanoid, human maybe creature that was watching. Didn't quite get there, but did deal with some funky mushrooms and other sorts of dangers and spores and all of those sorts of things. So now we are making camp after Kelpie, our ranger who had been raised by wolves, tried to dig a pit trap for some of them. And so let's see. So make camp is when you settle in to rest in a dangerous area. Um, Someone in the party, doesn't matter who, you can choose, must expend one use of supplies for fire and setting up an area and all of that. Who's going to expend the supplies to set up the camp? Okay, Hamish. Um, then take turns with the following. And I'm going to go around here again clockwise. Give an example of how you've met your drive's requirement. If you can, mark XP. So first of all, Inkorash, have you met your drive during the first part of this session?
I don't think so.
Okay, what is your drive?
Mystery. Deflect or evade an inquiry into your doings.
Not yet. No, that could be a thing that could happen. How about Kelpie? What about have you met your drive?
I don't think so, because my drive is tenacity, which is a refusal to give up despite objection or disaster. And I sort of gave up because I was like, I'm tenacious, but also I don't want to die really horribly. And this forest seems like a really horrible place to die by following that wee person who was running away.
I mean, you just be reclaimed by nature, just like every other forest. Um, how about do we do Hamish? Have you met your drive?
Hamish's drive is evangelism, and so he has not instructed someone in the tenets of his faith yet. So no.
All right. And then finally, Azariah.
That's gonna be a no from me. Mine is wisdom, and an NPC acts on my advice.
Okay. All right. Now,
That's a no.
describe how your opinion of or relationship with another character has changed. If everyone agrees, mark XP. So, Incorrect, has your relationship with anybody changed?
Yeah, I mean, so I know that we've sort of established that Azariah and I have traveled together quite a bit. But when I was in trouble, she really came through when I needed her. And I think that's a new sort of like my impression of her sort of being good in a pinch kind of thing is new for me.
Everybody else agree?
I
Okay, so
agree.
an Incorrect marks XP. How about Kelpie? Has your relationship with anybody changed?
Sort of with like
Or opinion of them?
with like Hamish and that, because I was sort of expecting Kelpie to be like, ah, lore. Who needs lore? But actually, when Hamish was telling us about, it, I was like, this is a very interesting like survival thing because your knowledge has prevented us from doing something like trying to go through the creek where we would have been seriously regretting that. So there's like a renewed respect, and also his voice is very soothing. I've listened to him talk about lore.
Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I was not expecting Hamish to pop out with that either. That was good. All right, so Kelpie can mark XP. How about, let me reverse this a little bit. How about Azariah? Why don't you tell us if your opinion of or relationship with another character has changed?
Opinion or relationship with a character?
Somebody in the party. That's right. It's okay if it hasn't. I just wanted to.
I think. No, I had to think about it a little bit because I didn't say a whole lot, but I think so. Azariah is kind of, he's not a noble, but he's very clean, and I think he kind of had a little bit of respect. Like, Kelty just got in there. Like, he would never do it, but like, she wasn't afraid. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty, or like, not in like a bad way, but like, she tenacious. He respects that.
All right. Everybody else agree? That makes sense. Okay. Cool. And then finally, Hamish, has your opinion of a relationship with another character changed?
Hamish initially did not trust Azariah because of the kind of rumored association with the Choir of It. But with the saving of Inkaresh, who is as we determined, obviously the weakest member.
Body in body.
He's gained a much greater respect for them.
All right. Everybody else agree?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. All right. So mark XP there. Now we're going to point out something awesome that another character did that no one has mentioned yet. If you do, mark XP. So only just going to change this up a little bit. And Azariah, is there anything awesome somebody else has done that nobody's mentioned yet?
Oh no! Why did I have to go first? I'm never prepared.
Maybe they have. It's okay. It's just.
No, I'm just really bad at like thinking on the fly. I'm not really quick on the draw. Just like, I need a second.
We'll come back. We'll come back to you. All right.
Okay.
How about you?
Something amazing someone did. I mean, I thought that the pit trap was pretty hilarious. But so I mean, maybe
Yeah. That's cool. Yep. So mark XP. Kelpie, something awesome somebody else did that nobody's mentioned yet?
That's probably Inkarash, or as Kelpie has taken to calling him Inky. It's probably him communicating with spirits, because she has no idea. It just looked like he lay down on his knees and came up with all this information. She thinks he's got a brain the size of a mansion. And he's like, no, I'm communicating with spirits. And she's like, that's pretty cool. And they're just quickly grabbing his coin purse while he's doing communication.
The good thing you didn't. You might have gotten caught by the electrical netting as well. Okay, so mark XP and Inky.
Inky.
No, I love it.
Is it cheating if I say now that Kelpie deciding that she calls me Enki is awesome?
I think that's awesome. I don't think that's quite going to make this particular cut.
I would say that when Azariah sung the mushrooms to sleep, but I sort of said that in the previous thing. So I think actually no, it was Hamish with the quick thinking face masks.
That was good.
Yeah.
Mark XP.
Oh, that was good. Boo!
And so let's come back around to Azariah. Anything awesome somebody else did that hasn't been mentioned yet?
Stole all our ideas.
That's why I was letting Cole go first.
I was gonna say my
Cole
first
shot
thought.
at those things.
Well, my first thought was the whole contacting spirit thing, but having traveled with Encourage, I think I would have probably seen that before.
Anything awesome that somebody else did?
Sending Bobo off to go track the trail in their seemingly like connected communication.
That was cool. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, mark XP. So you're all sleeping for a few hours. We're going to finish the second half of the make camp in a moment. But during the night, while
Wait,
you're sleeping,
Can I
yes,
do
Hamish,
before we go to sleep?
yes,
Can I cast Sanctuary?
yes, you can do that. That is a fine choice. So you cast Sanctuary, you have it prepared, consecrate. Oh, the wrong one. Walk a perimeter until you leave it. All you and all within are shielded from scrying or the eyes of spirits, and no one anyone enters the area with hostile intent. So why don't you roll plus wisdom?
Okay. You guys see Hamish before, as we kind of set up the area. He kind of scouts it out, and he takes his holy symbol, which is like a rope on fire. It's made of brass, and takes the butt end of it, and you see him break some of his ribs, and then it lights up, and he like walks the perimeter, and you see this like faint
You say he
light.
breaks his own rib?
He breaks his own rib, and he walks the perimeter. Says,
You just hear Kelpie go. I would just go over to Azzy and be like, that was fucking metal.
It kind of fucking was.
We're putting him at the front.
he takes it. He's just like, ugh, and like you see him he wraps his chest, and
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to that for a moment.
go ahead.
Result of the broken rib, because that was unexpected. So why don't you roll your plus whiz to see how well you are able to cast your sanctuary?
All right, let's see what happens. Okay, that's not bad. That's 10.
Oh yeah, nope, you cast it successfully.
All right.
Um,
He doesn't say a word to anybody. He just it's normal.
We're just watching him.
Looking. Oh, never mind.
Tell me about how he breaks his rib. Tell me what that is. How that happens.
So he is essentially giving. It's like almost like a ritual sacrifice. So
Okay.
he is suffering so that they can do better.
All right. So I'm going to tell you, you are in danger of having a debility, specifically weakened or miserable. We'll let you choose, but we're going to have you defy danger to power through it first with con. So can you roll plus con?
Okay. What is this con bonus? Okay. That is 8.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you don't get the debility, but that's going to kind of be a weak spot for you if something hits you in your rib the next day.
I remember.
Okay. He wants just baby back.
Stop
All
that.
right.
Stop right now. Copyright.
So,
I don't know if watches are a thing, but while I'd probably take first watch, and if while everyone's asleep, I'm strumming away on my mandolin, just a nice calm melody to help people sleep.
okay. Um, During Kelpie's watch, in particular, Kelpie, one of the things that you notice here is that the wildlife here is not as noisy as in your home forest. Right? Normally, in a forest at night, you have insects and birds and whatever other predators, kind of roaring in the distance. The only thing you hear in this area are the chirping of birds. What do you do?
Can I try and use my kith and kin to understand what they're saying?
Yes, you do. And you see these little sparrows kind of flitting about. You know them as prayer sparrows. They're small black birds. They've got golden heads and sort of a white breast on them. Um, and You know that they are typically considered to be signs of the divine. Um, and you hear them saying that tomorrow is a fateful day. Yes, yes, Emma, prayer sparrows. I have no idea whether or not they are queer as well. I don't think we've established that.
Canon.
Yeah, I mean they're sparrows. I don't have it put
Is
that
it
much on it.
is it rude to ask the sparrows? I don't know.
um, so you hear them saying that tomorrow is the great day and that everyone must be prepared.
That like Iggy makes a good point. Can I ask the sparrows a question?
It is so. So your move. Yeah, the answer is yes. Your move says specifically the chirps and calls of the creatures of the wild are as a language to you. So yeah, if anyone else stirs at night, they might wake up and see Kelpie kind of whistling and chirping to the birds.
Oh no, you know what this is? It's the metagaming pigeon. He's back again.
What is more British than a pigeon? Anyway, what questions do you ask them?
I asked him, oh, you're right there. I'm Scottish, yeah. It's like, oh, you're right there. I'm a newbie to these parts, so I was just wondering, what are we all preparing for? It seems like a big event.
And in their chirping and little squawks that the sparrows make, they give you to understand that tomorrow um, they believe that a hole in the world will open up.
Oh, all right. Hole in the world. We all have our own aspirations. Some of us want to have a giant hole in the forest. You live your own lives, prey sparrows.
I want to be clear. What they are describing it differently than just like a pit or crashed trees. They
Like,
mean a hole in what they can perceive in reality.
I like the idea that the Kelpie just imagines it as the pit trap she just threw up in.
All right.
Oh yeah, made one back there. Good job.
She's like, I did one of those yesterday too. What's up?
See, that's not even that impressive. I did one myself. Yeah, I threw up in it, but you got to mark your territory.
Oh my god.
Alright, so they're saying it's a hole in the world, and Kelpie is something wildly different. And if I can ask another question before they flit away, I would ask them, oh god, it's difficult. What's supposed to open the hole?
People's like you.
Well, not everybody. I'm half elf. Like, there's 2 elves there and a dwarf. But you got to be more specific. Are they people like me or people like thee?
They don't make that level of distinction. What they mean is the peoples, not birds. Peoples.
All right, so there's people doing it. All right, good to know. Thank you, wee birds. Hopefully the pit doesn't eat you tomorrow.
Let's hope not. During your night watch, do Hamish or Inky do anything else themselves?
No, I sleep.
Oh,
I don't take watch. I'm like
great.
Hamish,
bundled in a blanket, shivering and having racked by terrible nightmares.
If I
go ahead.
I was gonna say if I see Inky having nightmares, I would hum a little lullaby and help him go back to sleep.
Yeah, and it soothes them. I imagine this is something they've like worked. Like Enki has no.
It's something they don't talk about.
I think he doesn't know about it, but Azariah is used to doing this.
Yeah, he does it all the time, and Anchorish has no idea, or at the very least never acknowledges it.
Yeah, it's something they don't talk about.
Yeah.
from behind your shoulder, you just see like a pair of binoculars start to go forward. As Kelpie watches this happen, then goes, "All right," and then knocks stuff
Yeah.
down in her notebook.
Well, that's
Kelpie
creepy.
has a field notes journal.
That's just marked like icky question mark.
I have all these creepy fungal dangers, and that is creepier than all of them. I watch him through my binoculars while he sleeps.
And like not even trying to hide it from Azzy. She's like next to him, like, "All right, interesting."
Azzy, Inky, Kelpie, and Hammy.
Yeah, she's calling him Hammy or Ham for short because she's very bad with names. So she was like, she heard the ham and was just like, delicious, sorted. That's her name now.
Oh no! Off this party.
Finally, Hamish, what do you do during
So-
your watch?
Hamish, he looks down at his injury that he's self-inflicted on himself, and he just kind of he takes his holy symbol, he looks down and he says, "Not me, or not me," and he looks over at Enkaresh and sees like the burns on him from the shocks, and he goes, "But him," and he casts Cure Wounds.
Okay. So, yep. So roll your plus whiz.
Oh shoot! Okay, 14.
Okay. Yes.
2 sixes.
Yeah. No, that definitely happens. So they regain 5 hit points. All right. Now we'll finish now that you have had several hours of uninterrupted sleep, we can finish the make camp. You can choose one. If you expend an extra use of supplies, you can choose another. Regain HP equal to half your max. Clear all your debilities. None of you have any debilities. Or gain advantage on your next roll. So choose one of those, and you could spend another supplies, and you would get an extra one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm I am going to just take the healing, but I am going to spend a use of supplies and take the advantage on my next roll.
All right. Do
Oh,
you
this
still
is
have more healing to do even after the cure wounds?
Oh, I didn't know that he did. I sorry, I didn't realize he did cure wounds on me.
Yeah.
I don't think he did it on himself. It sounded like he was doing it on you. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking. So yeah. So I won't spend any supplies because I will just take the advantage.
So, question: do you want to use your pact ability to expend one supplies to contact spirits?
Yes. And so this will be contact spirits as a 10 plus.
Right. So you don't have
Yeah.
any. There's no failure. So you can.
That's right.
Which spirit are you summoning?
So I am summoning the spirit of a fungal priest.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. So what? Before we get to the actual question, um, tell me what you have learned about the fungal priests that lived here once.
So the the fungal priests served the fungal queen, and their holy duty was to keep sealed the gate to the great beyond.
Yes, that works. That works. So tell me, so so you see the spirit apparate before you, and the reason that you know this is a fungal priest is that their clothing is woven from that same kind of netting that you saw before that you got tangled in, but it's been woven into sort of a cloth. Um, and again, they have that same position with their ankles crossed and their arms splayed out to slightly back and their head thrown back. Ah,
And this one I've like purposely made the ritual quite visible, so it's like in the morning and I have time to prepare, which is, you know, me spending my supplies. So I pull out incense that is like burning out of a censer that is like wafting over me, and my robes are arrayed out on the ground around me, and as I cast the spell, my robes seem to like writhe and crawl because the sort of glamour like sort of subtly dissipates off them because my energy is focused on this ritual. And you can see that the robes are just made of thousands and thousands of spiders that are just crawling and
Oh,
weaving silk. So they're weaving spider silk just constantly to create these robes. uh, and then I just sort of reach out and grasp and like pull the spirit up out of the ground to ask it. And my question is, what must we do this day to prevent the breaking of the world?
the stone must be smashed. And then you see them sink back into the ground. And what you see, the rest of you see, is as that you all see that spirit just as summoned, but as it sinks back into the ground, it doesn't just go back into the ground. It turns into sort of like the morning fog and kind of dissipates over the ground into right just the dew upon the fungus here. Um, so as you wake in the morning, there are these you made camp in sort of a clearing. You know, again, there are these huge kind of rust red mushrooms everywhere. The earth feels somewhat spongy, and you can just at the faintest edges of your hearing hear singing, but it's very far away. Like it's just maybe something about the morning air being still and the breeze catching it just right, and it's um, echoing down. But you can hear just somewhere off singing. It is morning. What do you do?
Is
Did
the
I?
singing from the direction of like, so we
Yeah,
still know
down
the direction the creek was flowing to the
it's from
river?
that direction of the direction that the creek is flowing. Yep, down creek, down river, whatever.
Okay.
Do I recognize the song?
I don't think you can hear it that well. I think you'll once you get closer, you might, but so far it's just it's kind of like when you can hear you know far away a crowd or whatever. But I think as you get closer, you might be able to. So keep that in mind.
Azariah, is that you?
This time it is not.
No.
It is coming from the direction we must go, so perhaps we should investigate.
Indeed.
Did I? Sorry, go on. Oh, I was going to say, is there any way I could do a little wee scout ahead to see if there's very stealthy like scout ahead of, just to make sure we're not walking into anything we're already walking into super bad stuff, but to maybe like try and look at the way.
Yeah. Tell me how you're doing your scout ahead.
You see, well, my sleeping thing was, is there any way to sweat out the foul smell so that I don't attract attention to myself when I'm trying to stealth?
I think that in your mind, the smell is still there because you're attuned to the smells as someone raised by wolves. But in reality, everyone else thinks, oh, she at least now she just smells like regular sweat.
Right. So in which case, upon hearing the singing, Kelpie's gonna really quietly go and grab her bow and put a hand on Bobo and start very, very quietly creeping into the forest. She's learning a lot of stuff that she's learned from the wolves, kind of stalking up on their prey. You approach very softly, very quietly through the bush, not to startle anything.
Right. So you have, as what I know you're trying to invoke here, your stealthy quality. So you have advantage as a ranger when you try to scout ahead by being stealthy. Um, and I'm going to say that this is um, I'll give you a choice. Do you want to do this with, based on the way you've described it, either relying on your senses or by your finesse? So either whiz or dex.
I'll do Dex one.
Okay, so roll 3d6 and take the two highest.
3d6. Right, so that's 9 and plus 2. That is 11.
Oh, very good. So you make it back safely. And I will tell you that you were able to see where the creek starts to widen out into a broader river as other small, like rivulets and so forth, kind of filter into it. And the city, you still couldn't make out what it was, but it continued to be clearly downriver. You can choose two from that list on, I think it's page 4. Um, yeah, there's a list of like 7 things. Which of those two do you, which two of those do you pick?
Let's go ahead. Setting up, please. Determined. Using preparation. Could I spot something valuable or useful?
Okay. And what else?
Not something maybe preparation to exploit on return.
Okay. So, first of all, I will tell you that the useful thing, as you were on your scouting run, you saw what at first you thought was a large insect laying on the ground, a very large insect, or maybe part of the body perhaps of a large insect. And as you snuck up and you had your weapon at the ready, you realized it was not a large insect. It was, in fact, a mask that has the eye holes are the repurposed eye casings of scuttleflies, so the world looks refracted when you look at them. But it's a thick leather mask that filters the air. Look in Zoom chat.
Oh, there's a part of me, and it's the rogue part that wants to go back and sneaky back into our camp and go, ah, let's wear the mask.
I mean, nobody's stopping you.
I try to be like a good leader, but I was like, I saw the mask and I was like, oh, I want to put that on and scare him, but also I don't want to get, I don't want to get my ribs broken by Habby.
And what was the other one that you said you made some preparation to exploit on your return? What preparation did you make out on your scouting run to exploit when you come back?
That's what I was thinking about because I just found the river. Exploration. I wonder, can I use oh no. I'm trying to think of something, but I can't think of something to exploit. Unless, do I notice that there are any less mushrooms in the water of as it starts to go in the river, or is there more mushrooms?
Which are you trying to prepare for?
I was wondering whether I could try and like grab some of the blood mushrooms and like sort of make a wee sort of mushroom bomb, as it were.
Ooh, okay, okay. Um, yeah, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be dangerous to handle. So you could certainly try to pull them together in such a way that you kind of bundle them together, and you could throw them on someone, and it would have some negative effects on them. But I am going to tell you that you will need to um, defy danger both to put this thing together as well as to throw it so that it doesn't get all over you.
All right. And what would I have to roll to do that? Would it be a
Um,
con or?
the con is to resist the effects. I think that um, this seems like a clever plan and expertise. So, can you defy danger with intelligence?
No. I am the epitome of a high wisdom, low intelligence character. But I'm like, oh, what a beautiful. I know that there's danger ahead, but I do not know math.
Because you want that XP. So,
Oh, I want that XP a lot. Oh, could I use one of my experience to add a +1 to the roll?
you could, if you wanted to.
Seems like it's gonna be a wee bit hurting if I mess
So
up here.
the thing is, you spend that XP to add +1 to a roll after you see the roll. You do the
Go
roll,
ahead.
and it's like a 6 or a 9, then maybe you add a +1.
Wait, don't you have an advantage on one roll from when we rested?
Oh, yeah, I did.
You want to use it here?
Yeah, can we use like, does that help it? I can't remember if it's the first roll we make or,
Yeah, it's an advantage on your next roll. But
which,
I'll tell you what, since you had that from your stealthy, I'll let you apply it here.
oh,
It makes sense that this would apply to kind of some preparations that you made. Maybe you were kind of expecting to do this, and so you took some time to put together some sort of equipment to help you out or whatever. But yeah,
I'm sorry, I thought you said pie, so I was stuck there. I was like, maybe you took some pie to meld it all together. I was like, maybe I have pie. It's one of my things I've had all along. I just have a weird amount of pie stashed on my body.
Mint
healthy
pie.
sounds great. So yeah,
Bag of holding full of pie.
so roll 3d6s and use the 2 highest.
All right, got a 7. No, math 8,
8.
and then
your
+1.
intelligence modifier.
So it's a 9 altogether with the +1.
You have a +1 to int, and you were worried about it.
Oh no, that is a -1 to my int. Yeah, that's just an 8. Maths.
Okay, it's fine. Either way, a 9, 8, and 7 are all the same for our purposes. Okay, so I think that it leaks a little bit, so it's not going to be as much effect when you do it, but it will certainly have some effect. Just be careful when you throw it, that it's not all over you.
Oh, you know what? I just realized I've got an arrow. I could just dip my arrow in these mushrooms. That would have been way easier. Listen. This sounds cool though. If I don't have arrows, I've got a mushroom bomb to throw at people.
Hang on just a second. Can somebody take care of the dog? I don't know if y'all can hear the yipping of my upper. Yes. Okay. So after an hour or so, Kelpie comes back into camp, carrying. Are you wearing the scuttlefly mask? The spore mask? Yeah. So you got these big, like, refracting eyes, and carrying a makeshift thing filled with what looks like leaking blood.
Well, the question is though, I forget the name of
Bobo, yeah.
Bobo. Is Bobo there? Because if Bobo's with you, maybe we recognize you. But otherwise, I'm going to be startled, and my startle reaction is probably violent.
My startled reaction is jump behind Inky.
And I look like I could be broken by a stiff breeze.
Remember, my first instinct is jump behind Inky, realize who Inky is, and then stand in front of Inky.
Well, so I was gonna say my first instinct is to level my staff and fire magic missiles at something that scares me.
That's so great. Oh,
Oh, Kelpie, as you
He looks like
see
he's going to
Inky
murder
holding his staff, what do you do?
Kelpie's gonna go. Kelpie, who like Bobo is never far from Kelpie, so he's in the vicinity, if not right by her, and she's just gonna like, whilst wearing this mask, like rip it off and go, "Don't you even dare put those down!" It's like a real mom voice, like, "No, put them down."
Real plain, I'll be
What
right
the
back.
hell is on your face?
Oh, it's a wee mask I found on the ground. It looks like a repurposed scuttlebug.
Somebody take care of that dog.
Yeah, it's like a wee mask.
I'm outside then.
It looks like you're going to kill us.
Well, I did consider trying to like scare you, but I know it was gonna be decided that it may not be the best plan when he broke his ribs and he summoned a spirit this morning. And you also sung to mushrooms, so I was like, maybe not with this band, but also it makes like it just goes with the look, and it makes me it's very like flattering because it's like completely covers my features.
Oh my god.
Lovely, dude.
Azariah looks tired. They don't know what's going on. They do, but they'd wish they didn't.
I was
You are
pretty much
all
gone.
doing that. Somebody stumbles into your camp, and I don't mean like they come in weapons to be ready by any means. This is a person who, so they look probably like a human. Present this as femme, and they're wearing sort of a gray shift, right? Sort of torn, and they are looking around. Oh, I'm so glad that I found someone. Do you have any food or clean water?
Oh, hell no, I'm going to put out my bow and point an arrow at her. I don't trust any of that.
Oh,
Ankarash also doesn't trust anybody. Well, not many people. And is going to look at them, and his eyes, which normally he like focuses like not quite on you, even if he's looking squarely at you, it's not really focused on you. But then he looks into this newcomer's eyes, and his eyes focus directly into hers or into theirs, as I am going to charm person.
one of your prepared spells. Very good.
It is. And I have advantage on this roll because it's my first one.
Yeah, so roll plus id with advantage.
Very charming morning.
That is a 10.
So charred person. They treat you as a friend until you prove otherwise. They take damage.
Yeah, and my voice immediately softens when I talk to them, and I just say, "We'll get you some food and clean water soon, my friend. But tell us, how did you find your way here? Where did you come from?"
Well, like everyone, I followed the river. Isn't that what you did?
Are you following it downstream?
Well, we all are.
Yes, of course. You are seeking the ceremony? The ritual?
I'm lost. I mean, none of us really know where we are, do we?
Who is this us?
Around. And he said, well, all of us lost in the forest and seeking that which calls us.
That which comes
You,
you?
calls us. We are brought forth, brought together. You all feel it. That's why we're here.
Do I feel anything?
That's a good. I will leave that. I'm going to ask you. So you've been seeking the Stone of Eth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And you said that you seek it because Ardata, the Queen of Spiders, said the choir will break the world.
Yes.
Do you? And you had a dream from her. Are you feeling it?
I
Or
think
are
I
you just
am.
following orders?
No, I feel its pull.
Okay, so you feel its pulse, and it's drawing you to it. It's been drawing you to it all along. Maybe ever since you were born. And so the person says, we all feel that pulse. I don't quite know where I am. May I join you?
Of course, child. I lean back to whisper to Kelpie, and I'm like, cannon fodder is useful.
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Inky, and I put away my bowl.
And so they take the whatever rations that you give them. Maybe it's just the leftovers even, and they're together. And they look, and the rest of you see right when Inky maybe has his back turned or is busy packing his gear or whatever. For just a moment, you see a flash of malevolence cross their eyes and then disappear.
Friend.
What do you do?
I'll notice that and try to act casual and just kind of be like, friend, we didn't catch your name.
Oh, my name is Bessia. And you are?
You can call me Azariah.
I will, Azariah.
I don't like that tone.
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't like this at all.
I put down my bow, but I'm just gonna slide the dagger out a little bit just to make sure. It's like,
And after they kind of, sit back on their haunches after having eaten, well, shall we continue to join the others?
My child, how long have you been here?
Time enough to lose myself in the forest and the pulse. Time enough to dream and forget.
But perhaps you'd like to find yourself in the service of Mitra.
There it is.
I love it so much.
Lost soul.
One of us? Is Mitra one of us who are being pulled forward?
Mitra opposes this.
I don't like
I
this.
can't. Hamish, I'm having trouble hearing you. By the way.
Mitra opposes this force. She is, in fact, that which acts against it. And as he says that, he like gets really close, like to just like get ready because he feels like something about to go down.
I don't understand. You feel the pulse? You feel it, do you?
Yes, but I
And
fear that it holds ill will for us all.
no, by joining together and being as one, we will find our glory and we will usher in a new age.
Show us.
Somebody, here's a lot of wind noise or something.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
Is
Oh.
it perhaps? Did that
There.
fix it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Sorry, I have a fan going because
I know you don't have AC. It's super warm there. I don't know how you're living.
yeah, a little toasty. It's a little warm, but it's all right.
Yeah. All right. You're making it through. I'm gonna ask you to roll parley. So roll
Okay.
plus charisma.
All right.
They are not super happy with what you're asking them to do.
After I made them our friend.
Well, she's your friend. She's like, I like that guy. I don't know about y'all. 11.
11. Can you show me the ill will that the stone holds for us?
How's he gonna respond to that? I think we'll have to see for ourselves.
I agree. Let us venture forth and join the others.
And he like turns back to everybody else and he goes,
All right. So as you are venturing forth, let's do this in the interests of time. Um, do, do, do. Does it take? Let's say that at this point it's not as difficult as it was. So choose one. Takes longer. Something follows you, or it's the slog that we talked about, which would result in a debility or losing an item. Which one do you choose?
I would say let's do like I'll lose some supplies because I've got 2 sets of supplies because we have this extra person in our party.
Does everybody else want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So
Okay.
first of all, let me see how many people have this problem. 2 of you get stuck in sort of a bog. And I'm going to say actually that it's Azariah and Amish. You'll either need to spend some time pulling yourself free and maybe being just a little bit miserable from it, which would be a debility, or you can discard an item, basically one diamond's worth of gear, and kind of get free. Individually, you can choose separately. So it sounded like Hamish was going to discard an item. Cole, do you want to
Um,
or do you want to discard one diamond's worth of gear?
I'll go the other way. I'll do the be miserable for a hot minute
Okay.
since he's
So
losing.
for a little while, you have a disadvantage on Constitution and Charisma. Any rolls that involve those, that's on you can mark on your sheet. They're next to your HP. Now, who is leading the way? I'm guessing that's going to be Kelpie, probably.
I'll do
Kelpie
it.
plus wisdom.
Plus wisdom. I can do that. All
I have
right.
this
Sorry, go on.
disadvantage on charisma and
Constitution.
constitution. Okay, carry on.
I rolled a 12.
Oh, very good. What's the most interesting thing on your journey?
Most interesting thing on my journey. Probably, I'm watching this newbie like a hawk. So I want to know what she's up to. So I may not notice as much as I usually would. But the most interesting on my journey is as we start to get further and further down the river, you notice that there's this sort of the singing is starting to grow stronger. And it's like it feels like it's getting into your brain. It's like you're not just hearing it, it's going straight into you and making going straight into your mind. It's a weird sort of singing. We all slowly pull out the earbuds we received earlier.
I'd like to kind of just add to that as we're seeing all this weird stuff. I think the disadvantage from charisma and constitution, as I was like slogging through, I got nicked by one of those glowing veins or
Okay.
the
Yeah.
branches for
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah. That's what you're. That's why you're miserable. Um, very good.
Can I say what I lost?
Yeah. What did you lose?
So Hamish he's got like these robes, right? So like you can't really see anything underneath them. So he gets stuck in the mud, and as he's pulling, he like pulls really hard, and you see this wooden leg like gets stuck in the mud, and he's like on one leg for a second. He's like, no worries, no worries. He grabs an extra one. You see him put it back on.
Hamish has a wooden leg. Good to know. So Hamish has a broken rib and a wooden leg. All right.
Oh my god!
How many legs are you hiding back there?
Holy shit! Hamish!
Oh, don't worry about that.
Have an eye patch or a hook hand.
No, no.
He's got a parrot on his shoulder. All right. So after several hours of following along the banks of this river, it widens out into, or it reaches rather, a large pond. And this pond is got the fungi all around it, the big mushroom trees and whatnot. Um, and in the center of this pond is an island, and that island has these large, kind of regularly spaced mushroom trees. Enkiresh, you recognize this as the fungal palace of your dreams.
Mhm.
And you can see lined around both this pond and on the shores of that island members of the choir of Eth singing. And as Kelpie narrated earlier, their singing has reached some amount of resonance, and you can feel that resonance in your chest as they are all singing together words in a strange, almost inhuman language. And
Do I
that
recognize the song?
um, it is the song to pull Eth forward from their realm into ours. It's not a folk song. It is a song of power.
How many are there?
Dozens.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's this pond. It doesn't look terribly deep necessarily. Um, and in fact, you could see an area where there's not exactly a causeway, but almost like maybe if the pond were a little bit lower, there'd be like a causeway. So there's an area where you can walk through, and the water would only be about knee deep, sort of like a path there. Um, and everyone is singing, and you feel that song getting stronger. And if you've ever been where there's been like a very large, like in a concert hall or a large cathedral, the organ is playing and it almost vibrates within you physically. That resonance is what you feel from their throat singing. What do you do?
We want to see, so like, because they're ringing, do we see the stone anywhere in like a central like altar or anything?
Um, I think in order to see that, you're going to have to cross over to that island because you feel it being drawn there.
Do I notice any of them wearing the masks that I found?
Um, Not here. No, I think no.
What is our friend doing?
Your friend looks around. They have like almost a beatific, joyous smile on their face, and they spread their hands and they join in the song. Do any of you join along with them? You feel as if you know this song, even though you've never heard it before.
I would have pulled out my mandolin and would have just started playing something and kind of would have looked around to my friends like, focus on me, don't listen to it.
Does your song match their melody, match their chords, or is it
No.
it's dissonant to it? Okay. Um, I think that you can see occasional disturbances in the water. Maybe it's a fish eating an insect. Maybe it's a frog hopping. Hard to say. Just different places. You've been to a pond, right? Then you see the water's not perfectly still. In other words, what do you do?
Just real quick, I want to try something. As I'm playing, I want to get closer to our strange friend who is kind of entranced by this.
It's
And
almost
I
like
want to
Mongolian
use
throat singing. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to use counterpoint, intone a resonant note and break an enchantment.
Oh, upon those who hear it, yes, excellent. Roll plus charisma.
And that's with disadvantage.
Yes, because you are miserable and no one has cleared your debility.
Oh.
And
Okay,
this is
so
for you. So it's for everyone who can hear it, but I'm assuming that none of your friends have an enchantment on them anyway. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I like
So
this. I like it a lot. Go ahead and roll plus charisma, but just roll 3d6 and use the 2 lower die.
okay. I rolled all threes. So that's 6. That's in 8.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, no, this is good. So for a moment, the resonance breaks from everyone else's singing. And let me get my eraser because you moved them back on the progress wheel, on the progress clock. Very good. However, um, it's only for a moment after they're trying to kind of, you see some of them trying to start back up. Somehow, when you were singing, again, your counterpoint just broke that, right? And it distracted them, and the resonance falters. And some of them on the, especially this side, are trying to get it going again, trying to restart it. One, two. No, I'm just kidding about that. But at the same time, those disturbances in the water that I mentioned to you, you see one of them starting to move towards you in the water. So you see the like almost like a triangle streaming out behind it as it's swimming towards you. And as it gets closer to you, you see what look like a set of 3 eyes together floating towards you, and you see some disturbances in the water around it. What do you do?
I have a really terrible thing that I want to do, but it's really horrible. How close are we to the river?
You're right at where the river meets the pond.
All right.
It's a small river. Yeah.
Is our friend still enchanted?
No, that's temporarily broken.
Okay, then in which case, I'm not even gonna. I was gonna like walk up, act like I'm really into the singing thing of it, like till I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with her, and then I'm just gonna go whoop and push her into the water.
It's so good. So as you hear, and they kind of lose their balance and they splash, they splash forward into the water.
Oh no, she fell! Help!
And
it's what I brought
rising
them for.
out of the water, you see a creature almost the size of a house with flailing tentacles, a set of three eyes set above a large frog-like body. And as it opens its mouth, more tentacles come flailing out, wrap themselves
Emma, you're not
around your
supposed to.
friend, pull them inside, and then lets out a huge, deafening croak that makes the ground around you tremble. What do you do?
So there's other choir members nearby, right? There was some on the island and
Yes.
on the
Yes.
both shores.
Correct.
Are they wearing sort of like regalia? Like they look like they're, or like they're
I think
dressed
they're
kind of
wearing
similar?
sort of. They're not particularly, um, expensive or flashy, but they're all wearing the same kind of simple greenish yellow robe.
Okay, so I want to sort of as stealthily as a mage can be, approach one of them in order to touch one of them,
Okay.
somewhat surreptitiously.
Yeah, that's going to require a little finesse. Can you defy danger with dex? Then not to
I
use it.
certainly can. Nope, that's a 6.
So mark XP. Um, as you are doing that, actually, what happens is that the 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 choir member doesn't notice you.
Mm-hmm.
The froghemoth does,
Mm-hmm.
and it lashes out with one of its tentacle tongues, which sticks to you, and it has you grappled. What do you do?
I don't like that. That's what I don't like. Um, all right. So I don't know if this will work because it says someone, but I want to touch the tentacle and I want to telepathically speak to the mind of this froghemoth using telepathy.
Okay. Are you casting a spell? Is that a thing?
Yes, telepathy.
Oh, okay. It's probably is a spell. Great. So yeah, roll plus intelligence.
Ha! I rolled double 6s, so that is a 14.
Yes. You can you share their feelings and can speak mind to mind. And so as you do, this creature doesn't speak in language, but you can speak to it telepathically in much the same way that Kelpie is able to speak to the, wildlife of the area. And communicate with it almost via emotion and sort of tone of emotion. And um, it feels as if it is sickened and ill suited to this place. It's like lashing out as it's been drawn here. What do you do?
So I'm just like reaching into its mind, and I sense that it's a guardian, and I want to say, your talents and hunger are being misdirected, my friend. There is a banquet lining the shores for you.
Oh no.
All right. Roll parley for me. So plus charisma.
All right.
Love this direction.
Nope. That's a 4.
Oh god. Oh no.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna say that what you feel is sort of the emotional equivalent of a meal in the tentacle is worth two on the shore, and it squeezes you.
No. No. Stop that.
It squeezes you for 9 damage,
Oof.
and
Oh,
you can all see as this thing is squeezing him. You can see some of his arms and legs and ribs crack and are at unnatural angles, and a little bit of blood runs out of his mouth, out of Iki's mouth. What do you do?
I immediately, the first thing I'm gonna try is do 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 lullaby. Put it to
All
sleep.
right, all right. So roll plus charisma with disadvantage.
Oh god, I can't pick up my dice. My hands are shaking. Ah! Okay, this is fine. To the lowest die. Oh, that's awful. Oh, that hurts. Nope. 2. That's a 5.
So mark XP, and instead it turns one of its 3 eyes towards you and lashes out to grasp you.
Getting worse by the second.
And grasps you with one of its tongue tentacles as well, and squeezes you among its tentacles, like compressing you for 6 damage. And the rest of you also see it's the same. You can hear that crack as her arms and ribs break, and she spits up a little bit of blood. What do you do?
Yeah, so Hamish turns to Kelpie and goes, you get him, I got her. And he takes his short sword out.
Okay, you just take it out.
Take it out. Well, he's gonna go and try and cut the tentacle.
All right, yeah. So yeah, go make a hack and slash. So roll plus strength.
Strength. I'm gonna use my god's favor.
Okay, great.
All right. That is going to be a 10.
Okay. Yeah. So as you do that, you hit it. Roll your damage.
Shoot, I
So
don't
it's a
know.
D6 for you.
6. Okay. All right. That's a 5 on the dot.
Yep, that's fine. So you did 5 damage. Unless your weapon, what weapon are you using?
Short sword.
Short sword. Okay, yeah. So you do 6 damage to it, and its damnable hide resists some of it. You stab into it, and you hear it kind of shriek. But the way armor works in Dungeon World, by the way, it's just damage reduction. So if something has 1 armor, every time somebody does damage to it, it subtracts 1. I will tell you, this had a lot of armor. You didn't. This wasn't a soft spot.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you definitely did. I mean, you did 6 damage. You said.
Yeah, 5.
5 damage. Okay.
And then, can I try to? How can I counter this?
What about? Let me pause there for a moment. Kelpie, what are you doing? Are you frozen in fear?
Oh no. Kelpie's whipped out her. Kelpie was just wondering what is his tentacle mouth still open or is it closed now?
It's still open.
All right, I'm gonna take up my mushroom bomb
Yes.
and try and aim it for his mouth.
Okay, so first of all, you're gonna, as we talked about, you're gonna have to defy danger that doesn't splash all over you.
Oh, this is fine. We're fine. So do I throw 2d8 or 3d8? No, 2d8 is right.
D6.
D6. Right. And then plus con, that's a 7.
It's not. Well, it's not con. It's like dexterity.
Oh, is it dex? Then it's 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. So I think that what's going to happen is that you're kind of bobble it. It doesn't explode on you, but you're going to have a little more difficulty throwing it. So for your volley, you're going to take a -1 forward, or you're going to have disadvantage. I'm sorry. Well, there's no -1s. Yeah. So it's a volley. Again, roll with disadvantage, so you'll have 3d6, take lower 2, and add your dex as you're trying to throw it. But it does not explode all over you. You do avoid that.
All right. All right.
Eat that frog.
Breathe that one up. Okay, so it's plus my dex is wait, is it minus no, it's just 3d8 and then you plus them and then add your dex. You don't take one away, right?
3d6.
Oh,
take
thank
the minus
Christ.
2,
I
take
got
the
a
minus 2.
I got a 4 and a 1 is my lowest 2 and then a +2 to my dex, so I've got a 7.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, you hit it, but because you had a 7 on volley, you can either, I think what's going to, because this is already going to be a disadvantage, you're going to have to, in order to do that, you're going to get in some danger. Okay?
Bring it.
All right, so you throw it. Can you, oops, you know what, let me do this myself here. I'm going to do, which one? Oh, there it is. Sorry, too many little dice here. Yeah, you see it, it goes right in. But as you're doing it, in order to get to the where you're close enough to be able to throw it, you kind of have to go a little bit into the water, and your foot gets kind of, when you step in thick mud, and your foot just goes down into that, and you can't pull free, and every time you do, it just increases that suction. You are stuck there after having thrown it in there. But it did, and you saw it kind of flail about and scream as this caustic remains of blood fungus are now kind of just exploding in its mouth. I want to come back to the two of you who are grappled. What are you two doing?
I want to, as I'm being squeezed, I still have my mandolin, and I want to try and use cacophony since I'm being squeezed. I want to just like make an awful noise with it.
Okay.
Utter, play a loud, terrible note.
Yep. So roll with disadvantage. Roll plus charisma with disadvantage.
Okay. That's not bad. 8, 9, 10.
Wow. Okay. So all who hear it, other than your friends, must either they pick, drop what they carry and cover their ears, or stagger, cringe, and cower. So yeah, I'm gonna say it kind of recoils for a minute. It does let you two go, and it's kind of flailing all of its terrible tentacles flailing about, and it raises it up, and it's in order to counter your cacophony, what it does is it lets out that terrible croak that makes the whole ground shake. But now Inky and Azzy are free.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as I hit the ground, with like a racking cough and like just a bunch of like blood out on the ground, I pick myself up and I am, while clutching my like likely several broken ribs, am going to try and dash across the causeway to get to the island.
Okay.
I
Yeah, you're
follow.
gonna definitely have to defy danger with Dex to
Yeah.
get there. To employ speed.
Can I
That's
say
a
that
that's
I,
a 9.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so 9 there. What was that, Azariah?
after seeing how hurt he is and just him taking off, would I be able to say that I followed him?
Yeah, you can follow him. You'll have to make the same roll. Roll a defy danger with Dex. You don't have a disadvantage on that, so just 2d6 plus your Dex mod.
That's a 7.
Okay, so you both have a mixed success. Um, yeah, I think all that happens. You're dashing across, but you're having to kind of splash through the water a little bit. Like I said, it's about knee high. So you're only getting part way there.
My silken spider robes my robes are the spiders of my robes are like scurrying up because they don't want to be on the water, and then like they're floating out around me.
Like when you put like flea shampoo on a dog and like you see the
Yeah.
like, oh,
There's
Go
just
ahead
this
and-
like train of spiders behind me in the water.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just imagining them crawling up and making like big shoulder blades, like 80s style power shoots.
Yes. Yes.
Do your
They
spiders
are.
recognize friends? Are they avoiding me? Do they know that I'm afraid of spiders?
Yeah, these are my spiders. They just stay on me.
Okay, that's good. I would hope
They're
that
the-
they liked me enough to not.
They're the blessing of my patron.
while they're running across, I would like to try and help Kelpie get out.
Oh,
Hey, great. So, yeah, so Kelpie will have advantage on trying to pull free. Kelpie, how are you going to try to get free?
I'm imagining Bobo is just slowly going into the water and is pretty much used to all this bollocks by now, and it's just gonna go. As you just hear a wolf sigh, like as he does when he's tired, and he's just gonna go run over and like grab the back of with clamp down on the back with his jaw and try and like hoist.
Okay, can you have him roll plus loyal, which for you is +2?
Aw, that's 7, 9.
Nice.
He's a wee loyal dog.
Yep, sorry, I had to take care of something there. Not anymore. Okay. Yeah, so you said it was a 9?
Yes.
9. Okay. So it takes a few minutes. Oh, actually, no, he has advantage because Hammy is helping. So you can re-roll the lower of those 2d6s.
Okay. Nope. That's a 1.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I think it's going to just take a few minutes, and while that's happening, the frog hemoth has sort of recovered, um, and is now flailing about and looking for prey. So now two of you and the wolf are on the shore, and two of you are on the causeway, and the frog hemoth has recovered from the cacophony. What do you do?
Get the heck out. Go, go, go. Get out.
Yeah, I just want to keep going. I just want to keep dashing for that island. I want to find this stone. It's got to be destroyed.
Okay.
Still following.
All right. Yeah, so I think if you could defy danger with speed again.
That's a 4.
Okay, and how about actually? Well, actually, you're struggling as 1. Okay, and yeah. So also before we do that, can you also give me a defy danger with Dex? Azariah
Rolled an 8.
rolled an 8. Okay. Um. Yeah, so mark XP, they're inky.
Yeah,
Um,
which is going to give me 5.
that's good. You
I
can
know.
at any time spend 5 and mark in advance. But now you kind of got your foot stuck in a similar part of the bog, and the frog hemoth is bearing down upon you as uh, Azariah is able to successfully get into kind of this, get into the opening, so where all these fungi were, and there's certainly there's more of the choir singing there. They're kind of reestablishing their song. You see this large red tooth-shaped shard, because it had to have teeth, um, that has all of these. It's shiny with the condensed humidity on it, and it's pulsating with a nauseating warmth. I mean, here it is. You're in the middle of all this area. This thing is almost, you can feel some of the heat coming off of it. That's contributing to the humidity. And it's completely covered in this dense pattern of inscrutable markings. Um, and you feel this pulse drawing you to it. What do
Oh
you do, Zariah?
no. I feel the pull, or
You feel the pulse. You feel the pulse of the stone. What do? You realize it's drawing you to it. It wants you to join in with your song. You bring beautiful songs to this world. Won't you join our song, Azariah? What do you do?
counterpoint. Make
All
an
right.
awful sound on the mandolin.
All right. For most folks, I would have them defy danger with charisma for that, but you immediately doing a counterpoint to that, I think, is the right thing to do there. So, yep, just have disadvantage on your charisma roll still for being miserable.
Don't fuck me. I got fucked. What else is new? Okay. 4, 5, 7. That's not that
7.
bad.
Okay, that's not too bad. So what does it say on your? Let's look again.
Intone a resonant note, break an enchantment upon those who hear it. If I was hearing it, I would extend that to Enkoresh as well. Break the
Sure.
enchantment.
You draw unwanted attention, or you affect more fewer than you intended. The effect is weaker or stronger. Yeah, I think you draw unwanted attention. So I think that those choir members turn on you, and you see them picking up rocks in their hand to stone you or bash you or whatever. Meanwhile, the frog heathen is bearing down on Enki Rash. Um, Hamish and Kelpie, what are you doing back there? You're finally unstuck.
Hooray!
Hamish sees that this Froghemoth is potentially going to like come down on them, so he is going to cast Rebuke Anathema.
Whoa.
See, yeah.
Those are some words.
Hold up his holy symbol and say, "Get back!"
Yes. So roll your cast a spell. This is good.
I really hope this works, or it's going to be really bad.
Oh, Hamish, please save us.
Whiz
Wisdom, yes, it's a 10.
10. Yeah. So
Hamish to the rescue.
these anathema to your god are held at bay so long as you brandish it. The weak and the craven flee outright. So I will tell you the first thing that happens. Well, no, first you tell me before I tell you what happens. You tell me, what does it look like as you're brandishing the symbol of your god?
Okay, so he's got this like flaming rope made of brass, right? And he puts it out in front of him, and it just lights on fire. So like it looks like it's on fire in the sculpture of it, but then it actually lights on fire and like sends out a blaze in front of him, but doesn't burn his hand.
So as this fire ignites, the choir begin to scatter as they run shrieking from you because they know that Mitra and her hand are upon them. The frog heaveth halts and is sort of it's this thing is huge, right? I mean, like I said, it's the size of a house, and it's all tentacles and teeth, and it's cowering now back from you.
He like is like edging. He's like, we gotta go. We gotta.
This is like,
Right, right. So are you just edging along the causeway to carefully to get to the island? Is that what you're doing, or something else?
That's what I'm doing.
Okay, Kelpie, you do the same thing.
yeah, just wait. The cultists have put down with it. Are the cultists still trying to pelt rocks, or are they intimidated?
No, they're flying now. They're running away now. No, he turned. This is the equivalent of like turn undead.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm gonna edge with them, but I'm gonna also
Remember that in the middle of the causeway, Enkiresh is stuck the same way you were. He's got a foot stuck in the mud.
Oh, then I'm gonna run over to Enkaresh and try and get him out.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Enkiresh, can you defy danger with strength but at advantage?
Ooh, excellent.
God, oh God, oh God.
9.
Oh, I have a thing if this succeeds as well. If Enkaresh is all right with it.
Yeah, I think that you succeed, but in order to do that, these here. Yeah, I think you're going to have to drop something in order to do that.
Okay. I am going to drop my supplies. So like
Okay.
basically like my backpack that I have on over my robes,
Right.
I just like undo the straps and let that fall into the
And that
water.
lightens you enough that you get unstuck, and all three of you are able to rush into this area. Now, Hamish is still kind of probably got his back to you and turned, right, and is facing the frog Hemoth and holding it at bay. And Azariah is playing their mandolin, was it?
Hmm.
And trying to interrupt that song. Kelpie and Enkiresh,
Can I
especially Enkiresh, you feel the pulse of the stone of this giant red tooth in the world, covered with these markings, warm and inviting and calling you towards it. What do you do?
So I want to approach it and I can feel it. And I want this to be destroyed. I know it needs to be smashed, but I think that physically, like just hammering on it's not enough. And I want to weave all of my magic together to find those resonances in the crystal to shatter it.
Okay, and what are you planning
So,
to cast to do that?
well, so I want to use a ritual. So you tell me.
I see, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
you must draw on a place of power, which you are doing.
Yes.
It's certainly an auspicious time.
Uh,
I think that you and your allies will risk danger from the shattering of the stone, in addition to the other things that you've already satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
While you're preparing to do that and starting up your ritual, Kelpie, what are you doing?
Uh, okay, so Kelpie probably wouldn't have left Hammy behind. So this is ridiculous, and I'm aware of how ridiculous it sounds in my mind. To speed across Hammy's crossing, Kelpie is going to pick him up, princess style, and continue across.
While he's holding this.
oh my God, I need to.
That's great. That's great. And Azariah, what about you? As everyone else has broken and run, and the frog Hema, like, is sort of just, it's not running away, but it's sort of cowering. It's too strong to just run, but it's held back by Hamish. What are you doing, Azariah?
I want to help Hammy, and I want to use heartstrings, and I want to play a song that invokes fear and despair, fear or despair, whichever. And I want him to cower more.
Oh, in the frog hemoth.
Yeah.
Okay, so what? So you're playing a sick riff that's gonna just scare the shit out of the frog
A
hemoth.
really sick ditty on my mandolin. Ding, ding, ding.
Yep. So, yeah, roll plus charisma with disadvantage.
Oh no, why did I do that to myself? So much regret.
Do it, do it.
Okay, all right. No, we're rolling pretty good. We're doing great. That's 9, 10, 11.
Dope.
All right.
I rolled 2 4s and a 5, and I have +2 charisma.
Wow. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So here's what happens. You're playing this sick riff, and it's coming out. She's playing "Raining Blood" by Slayer, and the frog hemoth stops. And before it was like trying to push forward but held back, and now you see it starting to kind of sink back into the water. It's not all the way gone, but it is definitely going back down. And you can see this I say set of three teeth, like it's, easily the size of a pizza, right? This three eyes that are all kind of together in this cluster. And now you can just see that part sitting in the water. And Enkiresh, you are preparing your ritual. What does it look like as you're casting your ritual?
So similarly to this morning, I have to sort of like, I'm cross-legged on the ground, had to pull out some paraphernalia, and this working requires a little bit of sacrifice. So I have to pull out a ritual knife, slash my hand, smear it over this crystal that I'm focused on to establish this resonance. And meanwhile, like the spiders are just going crazy, crawling, sort of encased all over me, and wrapping me in threads of their spider silk while I am doing the ritual.
God, that's horrifying.
Total
Man, I
chaos.
thought I was edgy.
Yeah, so you see those markings, those sigils and runes start to glow black and purple on this. And one crack starts to appear, and then another, and light is shining forth from these cracks. And it explodes in shards. And as I said, the danger was you would risk danger from this thing exploding. These shards are exploding. What are you doing?
I am just focusing all of my energy on it.
All right. The other three of you, what are you doing as it starts to explode?
It starts to explode. Oh God. Ah! Yelling. I don't know.
Okay.
Uh,
Kelpie and Hamish.
What is he gonna do?
as it starts to explode, I think I would be kind of stepping back, like, should we get out of here now?
All right. You all take 7 damage from the exploding shards.
I was gonna say, I was like, he's there, Akarish is there. I'm like a shitty person, but I can't leave him.
Yeah,
But-
I know. I wouldn't have left him.
So all 4 of you each take 7 damage, and Bobo.
No, Bobo. Can
Oh.
I use my move to try and protect Bobo?
How are you going to protect Bobo?
I'm gonna cover myself with his body with my own body.
Okay, define danger with Dex to see if you can get there.
Haha. That is 10.
Yep. So, yeah. So you take the damage, um, but he does not. And did any of you? Did I don't think that dropped any of you. Maybe NQS.
It did.
It
I
dropped
am
you to
just
zero.
sliced into pieces by these shards.
So it dropped you to zero.
It did. So
Okay. So
I
can
am
you
drawing my last breath.
drawing your last breath? So Dungeon World has a move for this.
Yep.
When you are dying, you catch a glimpse of what lies beyond the black gates of death. So first, you describe it. What lies beyond the black gates of death?
For me, I think it is actually my patron waiting on the other side.
Queen of Spiders.
The Queen of Spiders.
What does her abode look like?
It is a giant glittering silver web that hangs just on a black void backdrop, and she
Heavy
sits in
void.
the middle. And so I roll plus nothing because death
Plus
doesn't.
nothing, just straight 2d6.
I rolled a fucking 10.
Nice.
Okay. So all of you see his eyes go completely black for a moment, like inky, voidy black. And he stops breathing. And as you rush over to him, all of a sudden you see him, and as he spits, not spits, as he gasps and kind of coughs, spiders crawl out of his mouth, and his eyes return back to normal. And he's in a bad place, but he's going to live. And that is where we will end today's adventure.
What?
I'm sorry we went a little bit over, but I didn't want to stop in the middle of all the awesomeness with the monster and all of that.
That was great. Loved it.
Oh, that was excellent.
This is Dungeon World.
Amazing.
This is how I feel like, honestly, I probably could have done more to have you all describe things. But I think we were kind of getting used to how the system works for some of you and whatnot. This is cool. I'm going to go around. Tell us where people can find you on the internet if they wanted to do that and you wanted to let them do that. And tell us, what was your favorite moment from the game today? Could be something somebody did, could be a rules thing, could be whatever. We're going to go around, and I will tell you now, because I know she doesn't like going first, that Cole, you can go last. Don't worry. So, Dan, where can people find you on the internet, and what was your favorite moment?
Yeah, so people can find me on the Twitter. It's linked down below, and here on Variant Rules, because this is where I live. And my favorite moment was Cole and Azariah's like sick mandolin riffs. That was my favorite moment.
That was good. That was good. Val.
Hi, I'm Val. I've now got to try and get out this voice. Not yet, though. I'm Val. You can find me on Twitter at the Nerdy Niffler. My favourite moment was, again, the combat. It's like what Dan said, the combination of Hammy's like powerful knockbacks at this frog spawn, and then like as he's shredding it, this incredible image of this massive Cthulhu-esque monster just being like, no. I was like, that's spectacular.
Oh my god.
Finally, not finally. Next, Sean. Where can people find you, and what was your favorite moment?
Hi guys, I'm Sean. You can find me at NoTweetSean on Twitter. You'll see me occasionally off and on, either DMing or playing here on Variant Roles. You can also catch me playing in a game run by John Graskowski on my channel at or Obnoxshawn, twitch.tv/Obnoxshawn on Sundays at 11:30.
Awesome.
Central. But my favorite part was definitely whenever Kelpie was going to scare us all with the mask. I thought that was hilarious. It was the best. And then that kind of combined with the bomb, like that was just full of good ideas.
Full of good ideas. That's Val, always full of good ideas. Cole, how about you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Cole Moriel. It's linked somewhere probably. I recently just started playing on here, so probably will catch me around here. And Kyle and I are scheming behind the scenes, which I'm very excited for. And fave moment. Oh, I doodled it. That's why I was like, wait, why can't I remember? It was definitely like the picture in my mind of Kelty like picking up Hammy and just like running with him while he's holding the symbol. There's gonna be a doodle of this on Twitter, I promise,
That's
because
going to be
that is
great.
amazing.
I look forward to that. Um, so I'm Kyle. You can find me online at TechnoScald on Twitter. I write a blog on D&D and Dungeon World and role playing games at technoscald.me, and you can find me here a lot. In fact, you can find Val and I not this coming Sunday because I'll be on vacation, but normally on Sundays at 11 Central, 12 Eastern, you can find us in Gothic Brunch, where Val is one of the players in my game, where we are exploring the blood opera of the world of Crevborna. And then starting next Friday, not tomorrow, week from tomorrow, on Friday evenings at 7 p.m. U.S. Central, you will be able to find me running the final conclusion to our community project of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage as a group of high level adventurers who have slogged through earlier levels, join forces to defeat Hallister Blackcloak in his lair. Val, you're in that as well, aren't you?
Yep.
Yep. You're going to start like, I don't know when you sleep because it starts like at 1 a.m. your time, doesn't it?
Yep, and I also realised I'm on Saltmarsh. The last two sessions of Saltmarsh on Saturday. So we're back this Saturday after we had a hiatus, and then we've got our last session next week. So I'm here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, we all live here at Variant World now. This is our home now.
We do.
My favorite moment, I had so many to be sure. Yes, the sick riffs. I loved Hamish pulling out, breaking his rib to cast Sanctuary. Um,
That was pretty
I
metal.
also love that for some reason Kelpie thought it was a good idea to dig a pit trap with her bare hands, which was great. But no, my favorite moment was when Dan finally described his robe as being constantly woven of new spider silk by the spiders all over his body. That was great. That was fantastic. Um, I will be running more Dungeon World. I love this game. I've been running off stream for some folks in variant roles occasionally to teach people the game. I will be doing more with this. As Cole mentioned, we have a project with another friend here in the Variant Roles community in the works that's going to come in August. That will be using this Dungeon World for that, but it's going to be very different in tone than today's adventure. Um, More to say about that when we come. But if you like Breath of the Wild and you like Horizon Zero Dawn and you like Studio Ghibli, then I think you'll like what we're cooking up. Thanks, everybody. Have a great fourth, if that's a thing for you, and a great weekend otherwise. And we'll catch you online later. Bye.
Yes, and I was just
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, I'm sorry, Dan. What else do we have?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So we're gonna raid Dice Priority, uh, like nowish as soon as we go to break. And Saltmarsh was already said, but Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be running Invisible Sun as I do, and I just want to make a special mention because we're going to be participating in a charity marathon that's happening called Radio Free Wolf. That's happening over the course of the day. Follow us on Twitter. I'll be tweeting about it. We're the second to last stop for the night. It's been organized by Ken Davidson. And all proceeds that we raise will be going to the charity fund for Big Bad Con. So the charity fund helps like people from disadvantaged backgrounds get to the con. So it's for a good cause.
Cool. I didn't know about any of that. That's awesome. Glad to hear about it. All right. Well, Dan, do you need to throw straight before or after I stop the stream? Does it
No,
matter?
you can. It doesn't matter.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good time. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.